Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll, and it's time to run it up, yeah you know, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor, ayy, on the road, here we go, yeah we winning by a landslide, never see me coming, I'm a landmine, yeah I ain't taking orders in command like, yeah you about to see me on demand like, you know on demand, if you ain't know, you about to understand, yeah I got the team by my side, right hand, yeah take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that, yeah and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag, yeah and we ain't never going back now, future expedited, now we on the fast track now, they won't lend a hand, now they see us on.
What is going on, basketball fans, and welcome to the first ever live watch along right here on the Basketball Podcast Network with Patrick Epino of the Oakland Warriors podcast, which covers the Golden State Warriors. I'm Neil Villapiano, the host of the Bridge to Nets podcast, which covers the Brooklyn Nets, and we are here for, like I mentioned, the first ever live watch along on the Basketball Podcast Network. Tonight's game between the Golden State Warriors looking for some revenge and trying to get off a 2-game losing streak against the Dallas Mavericks. Patrick, first of all, my friend, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. I am hoping that the Warriors can not blow a 20-point lead in this one. I'm good.
Yeah, that's fair, man. That's fair.
Yeah, no, but I'm glad to be on with you, man. I've been a big admirer of your videos on the hockey side, so I got a variety of drinks to make sure I got my energy up.
Well, that's great, man. And yeah, a lot of people who are probably already in the comment section. I'm also doing live watch alongs on the Hockey Podcast Network, which covers every team in the National Hockey League. It's the sister network here of the Basketball Podcast Network. And by the way, guys, this live watch along and everything we do at the Basketball Podcast Network are sponsored by the lovely people at DraftKings Sportsbook. When you sign up for DraftKings, make sure to use our promo code TBPN. And also, these live watch alongs are comment driven. So if you guys have a comment, question, anything like that, let us know in the comment section, which you can see, and we'll show it here on the screen. And also, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. New live watch logs of NBA games every single day here on the Basketball Podcast Network. Let's take a look at some of the comments here. Patrick, we put out this post earlier today. Who will win this game tonight? I think it's a fair question. For me personally, it's hard. I mean, I look at Golden State. They have been struggling a little bit of late, and yes, did blow a 20-point lead, but we won't get into that unless Patrick wants to. But I think that honestly, Golden State, they might be a little bit depleted. Draymond's still out, but you still got the Splash Brothers, and you're going to be able to have success regardless. So I think the Golden State Warriors are going to win this one. I'm going to say 115-106 is my prediction. What do you say, Patrick?
I will have to say that the Warriors will win also because they've been looking really bad lately, to be honest. And finally, they got one of their injured guys back, and that's Clay. He was out. He was sick for a while. So I think his injection into the lineup will give them enough of that little oomph to put them over the edge. And then also, no one on this team, no one on the coaching staff likes the fact that they blew that game. So I just see that they'll have a little bit more energy, a little bit more drive, and they won't drift as they have since 2022 came around.
Very good, man. And again, guys, also, if you got your predictions, let us know in the chat, and we will share it here on the screen. My good buddy Jacob from the Hockey Podcast streams, he's always on there. Big Lakers fan, and I'm sure when he first saw us, he was ecstatic that we were doing this. He said Golden State going to win by a point with Curry dropping 27, 5 of 15 shooting from 3. That is interesting. He drops 27, but misses 10 3-point shots. That is a bold prediction there, Jacob. The Beer Sports Whatever podcast saying cool. Good to see you guys as always. Isha, aka the City Life Project, is in here. Let's go. Good to see you, Ish. Hope you're doing well. I actually know you're also doing a live watch along of a hockey game right now, so hopefully you are having fun over there. Jacob said, I was first like always. Of course you are, Jacob. You're first like on everything that I've seen. He says, let's go LA Lakers. As I mentioned before, Patrick, he is a Lakers fan. I'm sure he will be ecstatic when we start doing Lakers games. Josh, the man who makes all these live watch-alongs possible, is in the chat. What's going on, Josh? I hope you're doing well today, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on and saying hi. We do appreciate it. My favorite sport is now doing a watch-along. Wow, yes, we are. We are. Patrick, on his debut. Yes, Patrick, this is your debut doing a live watch along. So how you feeling right now as we're just getting into this?
I'm good. I'm great. I'm looking forward to seeing how this game turns out, and I'm looking forward to I'm looking forward to some anti-Warriors comments from the Lakers fan here.
Oh yeah, I know, and you can see how much Jacob loves the fact that I'm here. He says, "Oh my, not Neil." Yeah, I know. Yes, Jacob, you can't get away from me, my friend. You cannot get away from me. He says, "Hey Patrick, I'm a Lakers fan." Yeah, Jacob, you've mentioned it about 3 times already. You don't have to mention it for the umpteenth time. So please take it easy on me. See, this is the funny thing. Jacob doesn't take it easy in the hockey pod chat. You know, he'll roast everybody. But he's telling you to take it easy on him, which I think is actually very funny. Very funny. He also says Clay is washed. That's I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking as a Nets fan, and I don't even agree with that, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, he's definitely not washed. I mean, it remains to be seen what 2.5 years will do to you, but he looks better than most people expected. So definitely not washed like Russ.
Westbrook. We're talking about. I did hear today, by the way, Patrick, that I believe the Lakers and Westbrook have mutually agreed that they're going to be moving on from one another in the offseason. So, I mean, I guess that means he's going to get bought out or traded. I really don't know how this would work in that situation.
Yeah, he'll probably get traded. I mean, next year is his last year of his contract, so it's a little bit more attractive over the summer. Mm-hmm. And with all this acrimony between, like there's a lot of stuff riding under there, right? Like that's going unspoken, not only within the org, amongst the players, but also with the fans. So he's from LA, but I don't think he can stick around, man. The Lakers got to move on him. The
Lakers, they have to accept that that experiment failed miserably. As Josh is saying, I'm thinking a Warriors dub tonight. All right, so we got basically everybody picking the Warriors so far in the chat. Jacob says LeBron, Curry, and Bronny James all team up in LA. Okay. No, just no. It's not going to happen. I mean, I know LeBron badly wants to play with Steph. I mean, you see it every year in the All-Star game when he's picking them. It's like Steph is always on LeBron's team. But I just can't see it. I cannot see that happening. Maybe when they're both very high up there in age, but I think Curry's one of those guys that's going to just stay a Warrior like his entire career. I cannot see him going anywhere else like a lot of other NBA stars do.
Yeah, he's not leaving at this point. If he was going to leave, it would have been like a while ago before the time with all the ankle stuff, like he's staying.
Oh, 100%. He Jacob's asking Patrick, where's your Curry jersey? You got a Curry jersey?
I don't have enough money to buy jerseys, man.
No, I feel that, man. I mean, this is like the cleanest Nets thing that I have. So I mean, it's just kind of, you kind of wear what you got to wear. And he says, Neil, your damn Nets lost 11 games in a row. Yes, I am aware of the fact that my Nets did lose 11 in a row, but we do have Kevin Durant back tonight, and I feel good about that. I feel more confident than I maybe did yesterday. But now knowing that Kevin Durant is playing, currently the Nets are up 60-50 on Miami with about 2 minutes to go in the second quarter. And granted, Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry and PJ Tucker are not playing, but you take what you can get in this situation.
Yeah.
Jacob says West Brink is God. Well, first of all, Jacob, isn't it just like West Brick, not Brink? I'm just trying to understand the English language here from you, Jacob. He is psych. West Brink is washed up. All right, at least he agrees with that. At least he agrees. At least he agrees that he's not. He's done. And then Jacob says, I have my Lego jersey on. I'm sure you do, Jacob. I'm sure you always you and Shannon Sharp are like probably the two biggest LeBron fans I know. So I'm not even surprised that you're supporting that. And then he finally says, KD won't do shit for the Nets tonight. He has 15 points and the Nets are up by 11. So I think he's doing more than that. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for this game to get underway as we are just getting underway. Again, thank you all so much for hanging out with us tonight for this live watch along between the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors, the first live watch along here on the Basketball Podcast Network. So, again, I would just, I didn't really get to ask you this question, Patrick, but I wanted to ask you, like, what should be the main focus for the Warriors in this game? Knowing that they're on a 2-game losing streak. They did lose to the Dallas Mavericks about a week ago. So what can they do to kind of, regroup here and come away with a dub?
They just need to play a full game, man. Like ever since Draymond went out, they have played, I think they're like 15 and 13. So, when he left or when he got hurt, everybody knew that it was going to make a huge difference, but they withstood it for a little bit, but it's just not the same, man. There's nobody else on this team who brings what he does, not even just on the court, but like in the locker room, in terms of attitude, in terms of like speaking up, getting people riled up and the focus. He wouldn't have let them lose that game. Just, nobody should have let that happen, but he definitely wouldn't have. So, as a Warriors fan, you just want to see them like play a full game and just try to get into some better habits because they've gotten into some bad habits, Wiggins isn't playing the way he was before he got picked to be an all-star starter. And, Jordan. I can
tell by your reaction, you seem to be a little bit surprised like everybody else was that he ended up being an all-star.
We all know the kind of player Andrew Wiggins has been, and I can go back to that D'Lo Wiggins trade, and like I've said on my show that like it's obvious to me that the Warriors won that trade, but like, hey, bottom line is each team is doing well with the guys that they got. I think like Jonathan Kuminga will probably be the best player out of all of them when it's all said and done, when they're all retired. But Wiggins, he's a third or fourth option, to be honest, on a championship team, and that's and I'm not even saying third best player. I'm saying like third offensive option, right behind Clay and Steph. So that shouldn't be a surprise. That's why they got him,
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a very good point. And I think that, he's really been flourishing in many ways in a very good system again, around, let's call it like, two of the best players in the NBA and in Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. And he's really having a lot of success. And I think that he's finally kind of coming into his own. And I think when you look at Andrew Wiggins, I mean, he was always going to be reminded as the guy that got traded, for Kevin Love when obviously, LeBron was trying to create a big three when he returned to Cleveland. And he was obviously very criticized by several people while he was in Minnesota, especially I remember when Jimmy Butler was in Minnesota calling out guys like Wiggins and Karl Anthony Towns. And it was just kind of crazy thing, but it's nice to see Maple Mamba, having success and being consistent. And I remember finding out, I think, if I remember correctly, the big reason that, that Wiggins got so many votes was through I believe it was a K-pop star, if I'm not mistaken. It was like a Korean pop star that like said like, oh, I love Andrew Wiggins. Let's get him into the All-Star game. And all of a sudden it blew up. I believe that's how he got like so many votes.
Yeah, that definitely helped. I saw that tweet, and I was like, "What is this?" But yeah, that helped. And I mean, it is what it is, right? People have been, it's been the fan vote for so long, and to be honest, like Wiggins, I mean, if he didn't get it, it would have been Draymond Green, right?
Fair enough.
Like he was the next one in line. It just so
Yeah.
happens like Paul George is hurt, Kawhi Leonard is hurt. You know, the guys who would have probably gotten it. Zion Williamson is,
Oh, yeah.
is he even a basketball player still?
I think somebody brought this up as, by the way, Jacob, to let you know, Steph just knocked down a three. So I mean, I as if that should be surprising to anybody. He did knock down one. I also forgot Gary Payton II is on the Mavs. I forgot that
he's on the
like
Warriors.
I'm sorry.
Gary Payton's on the Warriors.
Oh, right, my bad. He was on the Warriors.
Yeah.
I knew it was one of these two teams on the Warriors, and they call him the Mitten. I believe that, or some people call him the Mitten, which I think is hilarious considering obviously his dad was the glove. But I think it's funny how they call him the Mitten. I think that's a pretty good. I think that's a pretty good nickname, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's good. I don't think he likes that one. I think he goes by Young Glove.
That's a good one. That's actually a lot better. I like that.
It's kind of funny. In high school, we had a friend who was terrible at basketball, and we called him the Mitten. So when this came up, I was like, "Oh man, I should have trademarked that."
Dang, man.
But yeah, man. 10-7. The Warriors started off pretty slow as usual, but at least they've scored a couple buckets. Man, I'm just I just want to see some consistency from these guys, man. It's a long NBA season, dude.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you nailed it right on the head. It is a long season, and I don't think it. Yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't a logo three. It was just a typical 3-point shot that only Curry makes. Which it's like it's very annoying. Like because I've obviously seen Curry play a lot, and obviously, Patrick, you could elaborate on this because you obviously watch the team more, more in depth. But like, it's just funny how Curry's just one of those guys that like you just can't. You just straight up can't like. You could do anything possible. You could come up with any simple way to try to guard him. And at the end of the day, he's still going to knock down threes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's been a little off this year. This is like his worst shooting year for like almost a decade, to be honest. But
if I remember correctly, I think Seth has a higher 3-point percentage this year than Steph. I think I saw that. Recently, which I think is like so strange. It's like Curry's having arguably one of his like worst years like shooting threes, and then Seth is having arguably his best year shooting threes.
Yeah, I mean, I always liked Seth, man. When he was like in the Warriors G League, on the G League team for a minute, and to be honest, no hate to Austin Rivers, man, but like when Austin Rivers got like that second chance to play for his dad, I was like, dude, Seth Curry is better than Austin Rivers, man. And it took a while for him to kind of gain a foothold. Like I think it was actually the Mavericks that gave Seth his big break and gave him some consistent minutes. So it's good to see. And yeah, Steph is shooting below 40% for the first time maybe ever. I don't know. It's kind of weird. A lot of these games that they've lost, hey, if he just is his normal Steph, then maybe they win. But still right now he's shooting like a very good NBA shooter, right? But it's just like we're so used to him being this crazy, just like shooting from like 25 feet and it going in all the time. So when Jacob here says 5 for 15, I'm like, that's not out of the realm of possibility considering how 2022 has gone. I'm just hoping that was one of my concerns. Well, for this stretch run, like, will he start kind of like clicking, turning into regular Steph? And with Draymond out, man, he has to do so much more on offense in terms of like setting the offense, running actual point, because Draymond is on ball so much and he runs the offense so much. So, I think having Clay back is going to make a difference for him. And we'll see.
It certainly will, because obviously getting the other Splash Brother back into the lineup, and you're starting to see with every game that goes by, Clay's starting to get his shot back more and more and more, and it's important. And I think the best thing that you pointed out was the whole thing about, not from the defensive side, but certainly from the offensive side, with Draymond being out of the lineup, that just forces Steph to have to do so much more, to shoot more shots, to try to get guys, open. And, I just feel like sometimes that the team around Steph sometimes just tries to, it's almost like I've watched enough games now, like sometimes they just like separate so far away and just let him do what he does. And sometimes like that doesn't always work because he's going to have off games. So
Yeah, yeah,
That's
absolutely,
the way I
man.
look at it. By the way, guys, if you're just joining us, this is the first live watch along we're doing here on the Basketball Podcast Network. Again, make sure to use our promo code from our sponsors at DraftKings Sportsbook, TBPN. We're 7:48 into the first, with 7:48 to go in the first quarter. It's currently 14-9 Dallas. So, like Patrick mentioned before, Patrick Apino, who covers who's on the Oakland Warriors podcast, which covers the Golden State Warriors, had just mentioned before. Another kind of slow start for Golden State, but as I always say, to try to be more of a positive type person, it's not about how you start; it's certainly more
That-
about how you finish.
yeah, for sure. And that's kind of what I want to see from the Warriors, man. Like they just haven't finished. They got to be like consistent and make it through to the end. Let me ask you something, Neil. Like, as like a general basketball fan, what
I like this
what
comment,
do
by the
you
way.
think?
Lakers or Clippers tonight. I'm going to go with the Clippers because the Lakers have been crap of late. I mean, they lose to the Clippers like last week, if I'm not mistaken.
They did. They did. They lost to the Clippers, but yeah. But hey, they got DJ Augustine. That should make a difference.
That should definitely make a difference. But anyway, you were asking me a question. Sorry about that.
Yeah, yeah. What do you? I wonder this. Like, what do you think of Luca? I mean, like how good do you think he can be?
I think Luka Doncic could be honestly and truly one of the greatest European players to ever play in the NBA. I think he could get up there to the level that, guys like Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, Dirk Nowitzki, guys like that, being Hall of Fame type players. I certainly think that Luka Doncic has the makings to be a Hall of Fame player. I remember that I was actually at the draft that he was a part of, where he got drafted by Atlanta and then Trae Young went to Dallas. They swapped players, things like that. But I remember like so much negativity was around Luka Doncic before he got in the league, because again, he was like a European player. Is he soft? Because again, that's the knock on a lot of European players. Are they soft? Things like that. But you look at Luka and you could see that he is getting more and more confident with just playing the game with every game that goes along. And I think the other thing is this. Luka had confidence before he even got in the league. He had mapped out like what he's trying to do in his career, win rookie of the year, win, MVPs, win championships. And I think that he can win a championship. I just don't know if Dallas is the place. And that's only because they've tried to pair him with, the big man. They tried it with Porzingis, and Porzingis just couldn't stay healthy. But I don't think it was necessarily a knock on Luka Doncic, but it's going to get to a point where Doncic may get frustrated and be like, yo, what the hell? Like, are we going to really start getting things going here? Like, what's the situation? But I think Luka Doncic has the makings to be one of the best, not only European players, but certainly one of the best overall players we've seen. And he's box office. You hear Stephen A say it all the time. He's box office. I think Luka Doncic is very much in that same category.
Yeah, I mean, I'm stunned how good he is, to be honest, because I didn't think he'd be this good. I mean, but like, who had any idea?
Right.
And I'm always surprised because when I looked at the Mavericks roster beginning of the season, I was like, man, this roster is pretty mediocre. I was like, I don't want to use a stronger word to insult anybody, but I was like, these guys ain't going nowhere. But it's amazing how much Luka raises their floor, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like and these guys have been playing together for a while, so they have some good chemistry. But like,
Yeah.
it's stunning because there's no one close to being an all-star on this team outside of Luka. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And Porzingis, yeah, I mean that dude was injured all the time, and I know he played a little bit better before he got traded, but he seemed more like an albatross around Luka's neck than anyone actually trying to help him, or actually able to help him,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, Luka's proven a lot of people wrong, and now he's one of the best players in the game, and he's just a lot of fun to watch because he can do so many different things. And the reason that he reminds me a lot of former Golden State Warrior Kevin Durant is that you see what happens when the guy is not on the court and not playing, how much it affects the team in general. And then you see the complete opposite of that when he comes back on the court. Like, I was watching a little bit of the Nets game earlier before we jumped on. And you could see just from the Nets perspective how much different the team plays overall when Kevin Durant's back in the lineup and playing. Same thing with Luka. Luka goes out for a while. They go on a 3, 4, maybe 5 game losing streak. But then he comes back, and all of a sudden everybody's hitting their shots and things like that. And it's definitely he's definitely one of those guys that really makes the team go. By the way, another good buddy of mine from the Hockey Podcast Network, my good buddy Justin is in the chat. What's going on, Justin? Hope you're doing well today, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us. We do appreciate it. Justin. Leave a like on the stream as well as subscribe if you haven't already. Helps out the channel tremendously. And then Jacob says, Luka Doncic laughed my ass off. Okay. Yeah, just understand, Patrick, that Jacob will always come on and say something very sus. And that's the first warning for you. And the more live watch logs you do, the more likely you're going to see this man, especially if you do Lakers Warriors. I think that should be a lot of fun, especially hanging out with Jacob.
Yeah, for sure, man. Man, this game is.
This is a slow game. I don't know if you would agree, but it just feels like. Did both of these teams just like wake up and decided that they're not going to have that great of a day? Because currently it's 22-15, 4:10 to go here in the first quarter of our game. Dallas Mavericks taking on the Golden State Warriors. It feels like both teams just kind of are not really getting it going as much as you would expect.
Well, I mean, the Mavericks, 22 points with, like 4 minutes left. Not too bad, and they're shooting okay.
I guess I'm just so used to teams having 30 points by the time we reach the halfway point of the first that if you don't have 30 by then, I think that you're having a bad game.
Yeah. No, for sure, man. How far do you think the Mavericks could go? I mean, actually, let me back it up. When you're talking about Luka.
No, Jacob, we won't talk about the Lakers. Unless you come out, if you start roasting Patrick or myself, then we'll talk about the Lakers.
Oh, yeah, I got a lot of Lakers comments if you want. I mean, it's too easy to kick them when they're down, so I'll refrain.
Kick them while they're down. It's fun.
Because I'll be honest, the Warriors were down for like most of my early life, so I understand how that is.
And the Nets have been down at the bottom for almost most of my entire existence. So there you go.
Do you see Luka ever leaving? Do you think Mark Cuban will ever let him go? And if so, do you think it's going to be like just to like New York, Brooklyn, LA?
Well, certainly not Brooklyn. I can't see that. Granted, I mean, if we made a trade where we traded Kyrie for Luka, then yeah, I could see it, but that's not going to happen. Actually, what? Maybe it could.
It could still be years down the road. You know what I'm saying? Like 4 years down the road.
I know what you mean. It's tough because Luka's not afraid to speak his mind, but at the same time, he reminds me so much of Dirk Nowitzki that I can't see it. And the other thing about it is that Mark Cuban is one of the few owners that we know definitively always wants to win. And he's going to try his best and spend money. He's not afraid to spend the money if he has to win. And you saw that with when he ended up building that Dallas championship team back in 2011. Like you saw that. But I don't know. Luka doesn't strike me as somebody that I feel like if things got really tough, he would up and leave. But he could also be one of those guys that is super patient. He could be like Dame Lillard. You know what I'm saying? Like he's just constantly there, not getting it done. But he keeps saying like, I'm not requesting a trade. I'm not doing this, that, and the other thing. I want to win here because I think that there's so many people. We see so many players just easily want to get up and leave and go somewhere else where they can win and all that stuff. They don't want to be part of the process, so to speak. Not the Sixers process, but the process of trying to build a championship team. I think it's just I think honestly he could do something here, but it remains to be seen. It really does remain to be seen.
Yeah. How far?
That's where the comments here really quickly. Got to go, boys. My hockey team is playing. Peace out, Patrick. Hope your Golden State Warriors win. No worries, Jacob. Thank you as always, boss man, for hanging out with us. We do appreciate it. Jacob, you'll see me back on the Hockey Podcast Network later on this week. So you'll come and roast me then. So no worries. And then my wonderful mother as she supports always, is in the chat. Very nice. Thank you, Mom. Says, hi, all just subscribed. Looks like a great way to watch basketball. Patrick and Neil, you are getting it done. Thank you so much, Mom. We appreciate it. Make sure, well, you already liked and subscribed. And then obviously Jacob always likes to ask my mother how she's doing because Jacob he does have a heart. He might like to roast everybody, but he does have a heart. So that's a positive. That's a good thing to know, Jacob, and we appreciate it. And we appreciate all you guys hanging out with us during this live watch along again between the Dallas Mavericks, Golden State Warriors. 3:34 to go here in the first quarter, 24-16. Dallas as both teams kind of getting off to a semi-slow start, so to speak, but maybe things will pick up in the second quarter.
Yeah, I hope so, man. How many fouls have been called in this game? That's what I'm.
There's been a lot of fouls. I've noticed that. Like, I don't know if the refs are. I've always said this. Patrick, that every refereeing crew just calls these fouls differently, and there's just some where honestly they're just going to call things so frequently and not let the game flow. Where there's other refs that just let it go let so many things go that it gets like so ridiculous. It all just depends honestly on the refereeing crew that you got for the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody hates Scott Foster. Every team.
Yeah, if you got Scott Foster, you got no prayer. You got no prayer.
Every team has been burned by Scott Foster. So like, if he's reffing a game, I mean, somebody's got to benefit somehow. I'm not sure.
And if you're, and look, here's the thing: if you got Chris Paul on your team, you might as well just take the L because Scott Foster going to do everything possible to screw over Chris Paul, which I still don't know where that came from. I've tried to figure that out. I don't understand where it came from.
I mean, Chris Paul seems to be a great dude off the court, but he's a bit abrasive on court as part of his competitive nature. But he's also such a he'll flop and do all that stuff. But I'm not sure. It could have been something that we're completely unaware of. But that's cool. Like call tons of fouls on Chris Paul, kick him out the game. That's fine.
One of the things that I always like. The thing that I like Chris Paul a lot is that him being, the NBA player rep. Representing the players and everything, because I think he does a really, really good job of speaking for the entire league. And I think that, he has a really, really good voice. I always wondered, and let me ask you this, Patrick, just talk about Chris Paul a little bit here as we continue to watch this game. Could you see Chris Paul as a coach? I feel like he has the makings, but I don't know. What do you think?
We look at we look at Steve Nash, look at Jason Kidd. So yes, he has like the knowledge and the ability. It's just a personality. Can he do it? Seems like he could. I could see a situation where part of his personality makes it work, but then I can see a situation where it doesn't, right? Does he not have the patience for it? When Magic Johnson tried to coach the Lakers back in the day, it's like I remember him saying, or people talking about how like it was tough for him to communicate because he's so used to just doing what needed to be done.
Right.
Fast forward a couple decades later, and people, these guys know more about how to transition from being a player to being a coach. I think Chris Paul can definitely do it. The guy's a great communicator and he's a great leader and he's smart as hell. So, if Kidd can do it and Nash can do it, then why not if he wants to?
I think that there's always the possibility that he may consider it down the road. I think that there's a lot of guys in the NBA that, they have those personalities and they have the knowledge. And I think that it can incorporate and you can do some things. I mean, look, Doc Rivers has always been a very solid coach and he did play in the NBA. So we do have to give him credit where credit's due. Look at Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr's a great example. Kerr wasn't, let's say a great player, but he was a very clutch shooter, especially when he was playing with the Bulls and also when he went to San Antonio. But he learned a lot. And yes, you can make the argument, and Patrick may disagree, but you can make the argument that you wonder if Steve Kerr didn't have all of the tremendously talented players he has, how good of a coach would Steve Kerr be? We saw a little bit of that a year and change ago when Curry was out, Clay was out, and basically it was just like Draymond, but even Draymond was out for a little while, and you kind of saw what it was. But I feel like that was too small of a sample size to really say definitively, oh yeah, he definitely is like only good because the players around him.
Yeah, and it is interesting because like those teams were unique because they were really bad
Hmm.
But when you know that you're getting like Steph and Clay back down the road, like the next season or the season after, it's like that that's that's always in the back of your mind. So
Right.
like you just kind of say this. See, if they were like a rebuilding team, then the perspective, the kind of reframing of that season is different while he's in it. But like when he was put on that top 15 coaches list, I was like, I mean that's all fluff anyway. And I was like, he has some credentials for it, but it does remain to be seen. I mean, look at Phil Jackson, right? I
Right.
remember Terry Cummings back in the '90s said, everybody talking about how Phil Jackson was such a great coach for the Bulls, and then it's like, oh yeah, I'd like to see him coach Vancouver at the time. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
So like,
Yeah.
it's always the players you have. Doc Rivers, I didn't think was a good coach in Orlando, but you give him Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, along with Paul Pierce, and like, oh, he won a title, so he's a great coach.
Right.
A great coach who can blow 3-1 leads in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I got
more
you. I got
Warriors.
you.
So
Yeah, it's
yeah.
yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say Steve Kerr. I love Steve Kerr, but like no doubt that dude has the most charmed NBA existence, man, and he knows it. He knows it. Like I go way back. I used to watch him in Arizona, right? And I
Hmm.
was like, oh, they always had these like blonde dudes shooting jump shots all the time
Right.
back then, right? And then he got drafted somehow, and he just stuck, and then he ended up on all these team that just needed what he did as the
Hmm.
3-point line started becoming more and more important. And then he picked up all the coaching stuff. And I mean, the dude's been he's won titles as like a end of bench role player. He was a GM.
Yep.
He was a great commentator.
Oh,
And
his
then
tremendous commentator. He was really good when he was commentating.
yeah, he's smart. I mean, like he was like Doug Collins was a really good commentator, I remember.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean 100%, man. I think Steve Kerr knows it too. He lucked out. He lucked out for sure.
And I look at a guy like Steve Nash, and I look at him as like the opposite of that. Like Steve Nash really just isn't that good of a coach, and he really is more of an example of what a coach can look like when you have so much talent around you. And I saw it watching the Nets like the last like couple of weeks, without having KD, barely having Kyrie, no James Harden after he got traded. He just would make so many mistakes, and it's like he's learning on the job basically. And it's just for a team that's trying to win a championship, it's not really what you need. You don't need a coach that's literally trying to learn how to be a coach. The thing for Steve Kerr that I will say is that you have to give Mark Jackson a lot of credit for what he did prior to Steve Kerr getting there. I mean, he built
Yeah,
up that team. And then what Steve Kerr did is he brought in we're going to use the 3-point shot as our main weapon of attack. And he just took that team to the next level, pushed them to the next level. And that's what it was. And I think that created a lot of success. So, I mean, but you've seen Kerr years after still being able to produce a lot and have a lot of success. And this isn't one of the most, and I don't say this with disrespect, this is not one of the most incredibly talented Warriors teams we've ever seen. But he's still doing a very, very decent job, especially with the way that he gets, players and has the rotation going out pretty well. It's worked out.
yeah, yeah. You know, Kerr. I mean, going back to Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson did a lot. He did a lot. He instilled defense as like a priority. It's a lot like Doug
He
Collins to
called
Phil
a
Jackson,
foul at
right?
the end there. They really called a foul there.
It's a lot like
Jesus.
it's a lot like Doug Collins, right? Like he coached
Hmm.
Jordan for a while, and then when he left, Phil Jackson took over and kind of installed the triangle offense, right?
Hmm.
Same thing with Kerr. He installed a different type of offense, more of a motion offense, right? The a mix of the triangle, a mix of Popovich's Spurs offense, and
Hmm.
like some of the Suns just running all the time. So it was a perfect setup for him. And I remember when he decided to shun Phil Jackson, who was president of the Knicks,
Yep.
and go to the Warriors. And I was like, no way. because still the Warriors weren't like they were the team that couldn't get that guy.
Right.
Man, wow, last wow, that was a nice buzzer beater.
That
But
was it was a nice shot. I'll give you that. It was a nice shot. But that actually brings us to the end of the first quarter. Mavericks up by 11, 38-27 after 12 minutes of play. And we will step aside for just a moment to get our first word of the night from our sponsors. So again, a big thank you to our sponsors at DraftKings Sportsbook for sponsoring this live watch along and everything we do here at the Basketball Podcast Network. When you sign up for DraftKings, make sure to use our promo code, which you can see in the bottom right corner, TBPN. And again, guys, if you like what you're seeing, make sure to leave a like on the stream, subscribe, and punch notification bell so you don't miss any new live watch alongs that we do right here on the Basketball Podcast Network. And if you do subscribe, guys, let us know in the chat so we can shout you out right here on the stream. So we're at the end of the first quarter, getting ready to start the second quarter, Patrick here, and it's 38-27 Dallas, against Golden State after the first quarter. So what are your thoughts after one quarter of play from a Golden State perspective?
I think that their defense isn't looking that great right now. To give up 38 points to the Mavericks is not ideal. I mean, if Jordan Poole didn't hit that buzzer beater 3 from I don't know, 3/4 court or whatever beyond half court, then they would be down 14 instead of 11. So,
Indeed.
Klay Thompson's looking a little rusty. He shot 7 times, only hit 2. Wiggins continuing his post All-Star iffiness. He's also 2 for 7, and Curry only shot twice, so hopefully he can. I'm guessing he was just trying to get people to be involved more, so hopefully he can flip the switch a little bit. But Luka, 19 points, dude, 19 points on 5 of 8.
Is Luka trying to drop 50 tonight? I feel like he wants to drop as much as possible, especially because he's going up against Curry. I think he's got some motivation here.
Yeah, so we shall see. This is a little uninspired, but I'll be honest, man. It's been since Draymond went out, they've been 15-13. So basically, kind of a 500 team almost, right? So they've had these inconsistent ups and downs. So we shall see. Dallas is shooting 60%. The Warriors shooting 39%.
Yep.
That ain't gonna cut it.
Nope, it is not going to cut it, man. And Golden State got to find a way to get themselves going here, or it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. My good buddy Andrew is in the chat saying hi, Neil. Good to see you, Andrew. Hope you're doing well today, my friend. Andrew, while you're here, my friend, leave a like on the stream as well as subscribe so you don't miss any new live watch-alongs that we do here on the Basketball Podcast Network. The Soda Pod, which covers the Minnesota Wild on the Hockey Podcast Network, saying what's up, boys? What's going on, guys? Hope you're doing well this evening. Thank you so much for coming on and saying what's up. We do appreciate it. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Helps out the channel. I'm doing very well, Andrew. Hope you're doing well. Also, Andrew, make sure to say hi to Patrick as well because he is hanging out with us as well. He covers the Golden State Warriors here on the Basketball Podcast Network. Indeed, Steph Curry is playing in this game. There's no doubt about that. And Patrick, I'm going to let you answer this question of how's the game so far?
Well, if you're a Mavericks fan, it's going pretty well. Luka's lighting up the Warriors. He's getting to the free throw line, doing all the things he's supposed to do. And for the Warriors, not shooting that great. Curry hasn't really shot very much, and they're showing a little bit of flatness, which they've tended to do since Draymond Green's been out. But, hoping for a better second quarter, I suppose. We'll see. I
think that's the best. I think that's the best you can look for at this point. Andrew said he just liked and subscribed. Thank you so much, Andrew. We appreciate that. you subscribing, my friend. As always, love the support you give all of us 100%. He also says hi to Patrick, so there we go. That is very good. Andrew's another one of the guys that's very active in the hockey world. So we're gonna get, trust me, Patrick, we're probably gonna get a lot of hockey podcast network fans that are probably gonna start jumping on here and getting a little bit of a different sense. But at the end of the day, we're still just talking sports and having fun here. So we're a little bit less than a minute into the second quarter, 41-33. Sorry. Literally, as I said that, they made it 3, so I apologize. But yeah, 41-33. So you can see, as Patrick was just talking about, you're starting to see Golden State get their shooting going a little bit more, which is good. As I believe that shot was that Kuminga, I believe, that knocked down a 3, if I'm not mistaken. Was that Kuminga?
I think maybe.
So no, look, Patrick knows the Warriors a little bit better than I do. So if I apologize for saying incorrectly who's who, I do apologize, but I do know basketball pretty well. So and also just this is different. And I was talking to Patrick about this earlier. It's a little bit different. Try to do a live watch along of a basketball game it's instead of hockey, because there's just so much more scoring that happens. So I can't say score every 5 seconds.
So when you do the hockey, like is it just kind of like a different tempo? You're just kind of like watching?
It's definitely a different tempo. Guys like Andrew and even Jacob would attest to this. A lot of the thing is more of just, you're trying to explain what's going on in the game, and it's very, very fast paced. And obviously there's less goals unless you get like one of those very crazy games where 7 or 8 goals are happening. But obviously points just don't come as frequent. So it's kind of funny, like when Josh was talking to me about doing live watch on for basketball, I'm like, the only difference is that there's just going to be so much more scoring. So, I mean, I'll just say like, he knocked down that 3. Oh, he knocked down this. If I said back and forth as much as I would do for hockey, it would seem like overkill. But it's definitely, I'll say this, the speed of the game is slower in basketball than in hockey. It's just everything kind of slows down, and it makes me feel weird because I'm not used to a slow pace, if you know what I mean.
Okay. So it's actually a faster tempo in hockey? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would say it's faster because a lot of things are happening at once. I'm not saying a lot of things don't happen in basketball, but sometimes you obviously have watched games where sometimes guys are just kind of slowly dribbling the ball up the court. You can kind of focus a little bit more on things happening here or there. There's also less, not less players on the court because it's still five aside, but still. Sometimes things do slow down, so it's kind of it's a learning process for all of us here at the network. SodaPod says, love THPN and Neil. Thank you guys so much. We'll start supporting the Basketball Podcast Network too. Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate it 100%. ProStar was wondering, where are you tonight? Yeah, no, everybody's wondering, like, where am I tonight? I'm here. I'm doing a live watch log of an NBA game. Surprise, surprise. See, I can do more than just hockey, ladies and gentlemen. And don't be surprised you start seeing me do football and baseball. Well, I mean, if baseball actually happens, and maybe it won't. I don't know. We'll see. We'll wait and see what happens with that. Beer Sports Whatever podcast back in the chat. Good to see you guys as always. Hope you're doing well. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Helps out the channel. Everyday Hockey is in the chat saying, what up, fam? Hope you guys are doing well. Great to see you guys, as you always are. I know, a little bit different than hockey tonight. I know there's a lot of hockey going on. We're talking some basketball here, covering this game again between the Golden State Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks, currently 48-33, a little bit more than 3 minutes into the second quarter. THPN, look at this, Patrick. The Hockey Podcast Network in the chat say go TBPN. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate the support 100%. Know you guys are doing some live watch-alongs tonight, so hopefully everything's going well over there. But thank you so much for supporting. We do appreciate it. Again, guys, leave a like on the stream as well as subscribe. Helps out the channel tremendously. This is the first ever live watch-along we're doing here, and it's going to be the first of many. We're going to be doing a lot, have a different host come on here, talking to every single team in the NBA, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So far, it's continuing to not really look that good, and Patrick mentioned this before. The defense of the Warriors is basically non-existent, I would say.
Yeah, it's a little rough. I mean, this is continuing a string of questionable games by the Warriors. So I've said on my podcast that we're just biding our time. Like
Right.
everybody else, Warriors in Warriors land knows that if Draymond Green isn't available, if he's not close to 100%, there's no chance for this team to go deep into the playoffs or win anything. So, right now we're just waiting until he gets back. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
basically it. Hoping the other guys can improve, can get acclimated, can prep for the stretch run. But we're just waiting on Draymond.
Yeah, I mean, and I obviously, speaking as a Nets fan, I can attest to waiting around and hoping that people come back and actually play. And it does suck when you got some of your better players injured and not playing, and you're constantly talking about, oh, when they get back, it's going to be great, this, that, and the other thing. But you're still just constantly waiting around, and you're like, well, I don't want to wait around anymore. I want these guys to be healthy. I want this, that, and the other thing, and go from there. But luckily for Golden State, it's really just specifically Draymond, and they got the majority of their team work it out so far. By the way, I just saw that Willie Cauley-Stein got released from his 10-day contract from the Sixers because the Sixers just signed DeAndre Jordan to a contract. So I kind of wonder if the Warriors will try to bring back Willie Cauley-Stein if they do have a roster spot. I don't know if he would fit on this team at this point.
I mean, that's another topic, right? Whether or not James Wiseman is going to come back and what he can do.
Right.
And if you get another dude on the Warriors, you're gonna have to let go of Bielitsa most likely, especially if it's a big. But I don't know if Willie Cauley-Stein is worth it. But we shall see. How was he looking? I haven't seen that dude play since he
Well,
was
that's
on.
the thing. He really wasn't playing all that much, even on that 10-day contract. So it was kind of
Yeah.
like, I think it was kind of like they saw that DeAndre Jordan could probably benefit them a little bit more because they need a backup center because they traded Andre Drummond to the Nets. I think they were looking for a little bit more productive one. I don't know if necessarily DeAndre Jordan's the best option, but he might have been the best option of what was available. So that would be basically how I would look at it. By the way, Andrew saying Hockey Troll is unbelievable tonight over on the THPN channel. Love to hear it, Andrew. Andrew also has a question for you, Patrick. He says, what did you think about the All-Star break?
What about it?
I guess let's broaden a little bit and say, what did you think of? I guess the All-Star weekend. Let's put it that
Oh,
way.
it was
I would
fun,
say
man. It
we
was
saw the
fun.
worst slam dunk competition in
It
history.
was terrible, man.
I mean, it was brutal. It actually hurt my head to watch it at times. It really was.
Yeah, I tuned in late. All I heard, all I saw on Twitter was, and people were texting me that Jalen Green was missing like all of his dunks. And so when I tuned in, he was already out. And, like as much as I love Juan Toscano Anderson, and I love like the Mexican colors, like of the flag on his
Mm-hmm.
jersey and his shoes. That
Very
was, that
cool.
was cool. But man, like I don't know. How old is the oldest dude who's ever won the dunk contest? Because JTA is up to 29 years old right now, I think. And I mean, he can still get up. You know what I mean?
Right, of course.
He's dunked more times in his life than I have in my dreams. But when like it just wasn't. It was bad, man. When he kept trying that J Rich dunk, I was like, yo, man, like the more you try, the lower you go, dude. Like you're getting tired.
It was just bad. Like it was just like it was like at one point I remember someone on Twitter was like, just put us out of our misery, all right? Just say nobody won. And I saw someone else just go like, can we just restart? Can we just like can we like give these guys a break, come back in an hour and let's start over again? It felt very forced, I would say.
Yeah.
Wasn't one of the better slam dunks we've ever seen, and we've seen some good ones over the years. But one thing that like made me laugh, Patrick, was watching Jack Harlow play in the Celebrity Game, and he was
I
knocking
didn't
down
watch
four.
that. Yeah.
He was knocking down 4-point shot after 4-point shot. And I also just heard today that he's going to be in the updated version of White Man Can't Jump. So I think that's going to be a
Whoa.
really interesting new 21st century version of this. I'm really
He's
curious.
playing Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, he's playing Woody Harrelson's character. That's what I heard.
All right. Is that dude a actor or
He's a rapper. He's a rapper.
okay.
To put it, he's a rapper. Think about this. I'll let the viewers let this sink in. He is a rapper from Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay, right
He's a
on.
white. Well, let me make it more clear. He's a white rapper from Louisville, Kentucky, but he's actually really good. I would personally say that I think he's very, very good.
Okay. Yeah, and the thing that bugged me also about the dunk contest was that I didn't know that you could only give scores 6 to 10, right? You can't go under 6. Then what's the point, man? I was kind of
Right.
ranting on this on Twitter when it happened because I was like, yo, that's like a participation trophy of 5 points. You know what I'm saying? It's like, dude, if it would make it way more interesting. And I get it, they don't want to like embarrass people, but it would make it way more interesting if you could give dudes ones and zeros, you know what I mean? Because then it puts it on the line, right? Like not only are you trying to win, you're not trying to embarrass yourself, but
Of
it's like,
course.
so that's kind of, I mean, I know it's all for show, but I was like, why can't you give someone like even a 5, you know? So
That would have been. I would have loved to be able to be like from 0 to 10, just so that you just see like somebody just put up the number just like 0 and just like just shake their head like this was terrible. And I'm sure that all the players involved were like, that was the worst performance we probably could have ever put up in on national TV. Like that was bad.
yeah, and I didn't see it live, but I saw the what was it, Cole Anthony's dunks with
Yeah.
the Timberwolves, and I was like, man, why? Why are you doing that, dude? Is that really like I mean, have you ever ran in Timberlands, man? That's hard to do. And then Obi Toppin's winning dunk,
Yeah.
like that was I respect like the athleticism to do that, but it's not a memorable one, man.
No.
It's like there's no power in that, no force in it,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. They should have just showed like a replay of Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon, man, because I watched
We
that.
just
That
go
was all
back
over.
to when Dwight Howard was Superman, or when what was it? We had Kryptonite that one year, if you remember.
Yeah, but you know, like everybody was down on the dunk contest for years, and then Levine and Gordon brought it back. But then I don't know, that might have been an aberration. There has to be a way. I mean, if you had John Morant, if you had Anthony Edwards and
Yeah,
two other
dude.
dudes who were great
Oh,
dunkers, I
100%.
mean, that'd be amazing.
Oh yeah, 100%. Andrew asking where's the wine? Yeah, no. When I do live watch-alongs, I do have a glass of wine. I actually don't have it today, but I will, dude. I'll have it. I'll have it for more streams in the future, Andrew. Don't worry, buddy. Don't worry. It's kind of become, to put it honestly, Patrick. It's become kind of like the thing for me that everybody expects. It's like my niche. Basically, people see that I drink a glass of wine because we make homemade wine in my house. So
Oh,
it's
very
kind of
nice.
like a very typical thing. So now everybody asks me whenever I don't have it, if I have just water or something, they say, "Where's the wine? Why aren't you drinking wine tonight?" And sometimes I can, sometimes I really shouldn't, considering the time. But it'll be back, Andrew. Don't worry about that. I think Steve Kerr might need a glass of wine or two after the way his team has been playing on the defensive side right now.
Oh man, yeah, you know, like they're
He's got to be breaking. Did he break a? Did he break a clipboard yet? I
he
really
hasn't
hope.
done
Like
that.
that was so funny in the finals when he just like obliterated a clipboard. That was the greatest reaction I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, like that's he's good at that, but I think there's a trick to it. He uses the marker in his hand to kind of like,
Mm.
you know, initiate that impact and give it that
Oh, so
like
he kind of hides the
counter
marker
point.
when no one's looking and just is able to explode it.
Yeah. I think one time he cut his hand and it was like bleeding.
Oh,
But
damn.
he hasn't done that this year because I think he's just, you know, trying to manage this team and get it to where they need to be. Oh, come on.
That was That
Yeah.
how do we put that? How do we describe that call?
I mean, that's just bad defense. Like I don't know, they're playing small and they're not rotating quickly enough, and yeah,
They
bad.
really do feel like, like I get the sense from the Warriors, they really do feel like they're just waiting for Draymond to get back. Like they're just kind of like, it's all right, like we could suck right now, but when Draymond gets back, and I mean, I need Draymond to come back for fantasy reasons, so it'd be nice for him to come back at some point. Andrew said he'll be back, by the way. No worries, Andrew. Take your time, buddy. We appreciate you hanging out with us. And again, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. First ever live watch along here on the Basketball Podcast Network. Patrick Apino of the Oakland Warriors podcast, which covers the Golden. I keep wanting to say Oakland Warriors, the Golden State Warriors here on the Basketball Podcast Network. And my name is Neil Villapiano. I'm the host of the Bridge to the Nets podcast here on the Basketball Podcast as well. And we're enjoying this game so far. Well, I mean, maybe not Patrick. He's obviously got to be frustrated. I don't really have a dog in the race, so I'm just kind of chilling. But I'm just still excited because I'm seeing Luka and Steph going at it, and yeah, Luka's having a typical big Luka game so far.
Yeah, I mean, Steph started shooting a little bit more. I mean, hey, it's still within reach, 14 points, but I don't know. Somebody else.
If you could get it under 10 by the end of by halftime, I would consider that a win for Golden State.
Yeah, but man, I don't know. It's just crazy to me. Like the Mavs don't have that much like talent, but they're
you just want to basically say, like Patrick really just wants to say, the Mavs suck. They should not be this good.
Nah, but I think yeah, the Warriors just need some injection of life. You know what I mean? Like everybody talks, like I always talk about. So I do episodes every game. After this, I'm gonna do an episode. It'll probably be really short because during these bad games, I just don't even want to talk about it.
We didn't shoot well. We didn't play defense. We lost. That's the episode. Have a good one.
Yeah. By the way, here's an ad. No, just kidding.
Oh, by the way, here's a DraftKings promo just to keep you enticed. There you go.
Yeah, but like it's really one of those things, to be honest. Like I said a little bit earlier, it's like, we know that this team is going to live and die with like Steph, Draymond, and Clay. So right now, I mean, the last game, it looked like last season where they were like a 500 team and it was Steph and a bunch of dudes. So it's frustrating, but like as a longtime Warriors fan who's seen more years of bad times and good times, you just try to take the long view. Appreciate that. I mean, they'll probably get passed up by the Grizzlies, and then but then if they end up in third place, so be it. I like the Warriors' chances in the playoffs as long as those main dudes are healthy.
I mean, I remember I was watching First Take like a couple weeks ago, and Stephen A was talking about Golden State, and he was like, the thing that nobody wants to do is face a Golden State team that's fully healthy and clicking on offense like we saw back, a couple of years ago. I mean, because if they start clicking, even if they don't play like exceptional defense, you're counting, you're most teams are counting by twos and Golden State's still counting by threes. And that's going to be a nightmare situation. But I think what was so much fun about last year's Warriors team for me as a fan was that they were in the playing game against the Lakers, and it was just like, who would have thought that Golden State and the Lakers would be facing off in a play-in game? Like, we knew they could face up in the playoffs, but a play-in game, it was like the weirdest like position to be in. It was very strange, but it was a hell of a game. I'll say that. It was a hell of a game.
Yeah, and it's weird for me. Like I did an episode over the summer where I listed 10 reasons why like this season was going to be really really epic. And one of them, the first one actually was and in hindsight, like I guess I was really, really wrong, but it felt like the first time I mean, I didn't think the Westbrook trade was a good trade, but I thought the Lakers would at least be in the top 5,
Right.
6 maybe.
Or
But
at least in the top 8 and not several games below 500.
yeah, so like I was like, yo, this is the first time in my lifetime that the Warriors and Lakers are both going to be like legit good,
Yeah.
because most of the time the Warriors were trash. And then when the Warriors finally got good, the Lakers were trash. And then the Lakers, when they made the run in the bubble, put that asterisk on that title. When they made that run,
Oh yeah.
when they
Oh
made
yeah.
that run, the Warriors were terrible because Steph had a broken hand, Clay was out, etc. So
Yep.
like, and I was like, okay, this is finally the year where everybody's pretty much healthy and they're going to do battle. But then the Lakers haven't, they've been the Lakers of this year, so it's kind of a bummer. I don't know if the Lakers will make the play-in, to be honest, at this point, especially if the Pelicans are trying to come on strong with CJ in the
Oh
mix.
yeah.
That's a good addition, Like they
And he
can they
wants to
can
get into play. I could tell. Like
yeah.
I'm watching CJ play right now. You can see that he's very motivated. Like he wants to get into playoffs. He wants to, get something going here. And I think that just is very good for the young players that New Orleans has. I think it would be very beneficial if they can indeed get into the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. And like it was a good move, but it all depends on Zion. Do you think Zion is going to come back this year?
Oh, dude, let me tell you this right now. And I think I've seen several people post it. It really does feel like Ja and Zion has become the new aged. If you remember Kevin Durant and Greg Oden, I don't know if you saw that meme that's been going around social media. It's like the funniest thing, and the crazy thing though is that it's very very true. Like we looked at Zion and we said this dude's going to be phenomenal in the NBA. My whole knock on Zion is that he can't shoot free throws worth a damn. Like he's
Mhm.
really bad at free throw shooting. But we knew that Ja had potential. We just didn't know that he would become as good. By the way, he has another viral dunk that he had tonight. So that's like for the 80,000th time that he's done that in the last 5 days. That man just is a walking bucket and a half.
Yeah.
But dude, Zion, I think he's a bust. I hate to say it, and I think he's doing this on purpose. I don't think he wants to be in New Orleans.
Yes.
I think he's
You
trying
want
to get out. And
Yeah.
I remember my friend who was a Knicks fan. He's like, he's trying to go to the Knicks. I'm like, dude, nobody wants to go to the Knicks. Please get that out of your head. Nobody wants to go to the Knicks. If they did, it would have happened already.
He's
So
got
I
three
just,
teammates. Or he's got two
uh,
teammates over there from the Duke days, so maybe he would,
yeah,
right?
but like, would he make the Knicks automatically better than what they are right now? I mean, it's
I don't know, because here's the thing, like
they'd have to
if
trade for him. They'd probably have to trade for him. And who the hell do the Knicks have that's gonna like
I don't know.
miraculously
Yeah.
be like, oh yeah, Pelicans definitely taking that.
No, I mean, and that's totally fair, right? Like, I don't know how. I mean, it's like how they could get Zion Williamson, but like that's part of Zion Williamson not playing and tanking and and all that stuff. Like he clearly, and like whoever is advising him wants him in a bigger market. You know what I mean? If the Pelicans make the play in, I'm curious to see or if they start like challenging for that 10th spot. I want to
Mm-hmm.
see if Zion will show up, and if they make it to the play-in, will he show up? And if by some like crazy like act of God that they actually make it into the playoffs, then would he show up? I mean, that'd be
From play in to playoffs. That's gonna be the title of like a book that describes like this era of basketball from play in to playoffs. That's so
yeah.
stupid.
But I think Zion will probably. Yeah, I mean, I feel my gut tells me he's trying to get out of there, but we'll see. We'll see what
I
happens
mean,
with
I
that.
did know that it was reported that McCollum. The crazy thing is that McCollum and Zion didn't even talk to one another for like I think like a
Yeah,
week and a half after
yeah.
the trade. Like it, and that to me again is like they say, oh, Zion's just working out in Portland, and I'm like, is
That's
that it?
BS.
Like, dude,
Yeah,
like when is he gonna play again? Is he gonna play? Like what? Like does he just straight up not want to be in New Orleans? And I mean, look, I get it because it was all setting up perfectly in that lottery for where the Knicks were going to get the first pick. They were going to get Zion. It's great, and they didn't. The Pelicans got it, and you could see Zion like facially, he was just like, "This sucks. I have to go to New Orleans." I have to go to the Pelicans boasted a pretty exciting roster of young players when Zion first was there. If you remember, they had Lonzo, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram. You had included Zion. To me, it was like, oh, this could be a fun team. This could be a team that could be very fun to watch and things like that. And now,
Mm-hmm.
Lonzo's gone. Josh Hart is non-existent as far as I'm
He's gone.
concerned.
He's gone.
Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram's still very good. He's still doing pretty well, but he won't be in New Orleans long term. I just don't think anybody that they had like 2 years ago is going to be there long term. I just can't see it.
Yeah, I don't see it either. And like you were
Well, you
saying,
guys can clearly tell that Golden State has not improved defensively in this quarter. As a matter of fact, I argue to wonder if it's gotten worse in the second quarter.
yeah, they just look like they're on their heels right now. Dallas has everything clicking, and it's Dallas is just going downhill. The Warriors just keep missing shots, and
Yeah.
it might just be one of those nights. If something, the Warriors traditionally have good third quarters during the dynasty, and then even this year. So I think that's what it's going to come down to right now. What they're down by 16.
Yep.
That's going to be yeah.
It's one of those days. I know exactly how you feel like watching my team. There's plenty of games where like you're facing off against somebody and it goes from your team's struggling to make shots, nothing's going in, and then the other team, they just throw something up and it goes in. And I feel like that's what we're seeing in this game. Gold State has to really, really work for every shot that they take, while Dallas is just throwing stuff up, and 9 times out of 10 it's going in, which is very, very frustrating.
Yeah, and so it goes, man.
Yeah, it's part of basketball. But we are now at halftime here, ladies and gentlemen, of our game between the Golden State Warriors and the Dallas Mavericks. 68-54 Dallas at the break. Patrick, I'll start with you, man, before we go to commercial break. Let it out, my friend. Just say what needs to be said after a very, very difficult first 2 quarters of play.
Well, I'll say it's just disappointing. Like it's not fun to watch a team not play up to its potential. But again, like as a more long view type fan, it's like, okay, it is what it is. Move on, and then keep biding our time. Keep waiting until Draymond gets back. But somehow, some way, it's not like Draymond's going to magically make everything better. But I'm a little disappointed that guys like Wiggins. I know Wiggins, his reputation, but also like Jordan Poole, that they're not kind of showing out more when they have this opportunity. So we'll see. We'll see if they can at least show a little bit more grit in the third quarter, second half in general.
It's obviously things definitely got to pick up here if Golden State wants to have any sort of hope to get back in this one. But before we continue, guys, as we are here at halftime, we are going to step aside for a moment, catch our breath, get some water, and we're going to get another word from our sponsors. And once again, a big shout out to our sponsors at DraftKings Sportsbook for sponsoring this live watch along and everything we do here at the Basketball Podcast Network. When you sign up for DraftKings, as always, guys, make sure to use our promo code, which you can see in the bottom right corner, THPN. So again, guys, we are at halftime of our game between the Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors, 68-54 Dallas after 2 quarters of play. It's definitely been a tough one, especially defensively for the Golden State Warriors. They've given up 38 points in the first, and they gave up another 30 in the second, while the Warriors have it impressively very impressive, scored 27 in the first and added another 27 in the second quarter. And Steph doing what he can. Team's a little bit depleted, but Luka Doncic obviously having himself a typical Luka Doncic game. But again, guys, also if you're enjoying the stream, make sure to leave a like, also subscribe and punch the notification bell so you don't miss any new live watch-alongs that we do here on the Basketball Podcast Network. We're going to be doing live watch-alongs of every team in the NBA. And also, guys, if you do subscribe, let us know in the chat, and we will share it here on the screen during the live stream. So, yeah, again, Patrick, it's been an interesting game, but I wanted to allow you to talk about your podcast, talk about anything you got new going on and things like that, and where people can find you and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so my podcast is called the Oakland Warriors Podcast, and I pretty much talk about every game. It's like something where I'm like, man, I should take a break, but I just can't stop. And
I know that feeling.
I do an episode after every game and talk about, observations, my thoughts on those things. And then I also have guests on, and we talk everything about the Warriors. And I've been a fan for decades, man. Since Sleepy Floyd won TMC.
Wow.
So it's always fascinating to see how this team and this fan base has changed. And just love talking about like the history of the Warriors, the context of seeing this team play, how good they are, how far they've come, and just like how they can keep it going. So people can find me obviously on all the platforms, Oakland Warriors on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Just started a YouTube channel, so go find that. And you go to oaklandwarriors.com, find out everything. And it's fun. It's fun being a Warriors podcaster, because I'll tell you this much: when they were pretty mediocre last year, it was chill. It was chill. But then once they got good this year and all this attention, it was like even more fun. You know what I mean? And
of course,
I go back. I uploaded all 200 episodes that I'd previously done onto the YouTube channel, and I didn't listen to everything over again, but I did like kind of, you see like the titles, you see the descriptions and stuff, and you kind of chronologically go through like how far this team has come, and in the last couple of years and stuff, just with all the injuries and everything. So, and it's also funny to see where I was totally right and where I was totally wrong. Fandom is always a funny thing. I was 100% right on Jonathan Kuminga. I'll tell you that much.
There you go.
Yeah, but it's good to be on this Basketball Podcast Network, and looking forward to doing more of these, especially when the Warriors are actually playing well, as opposed to tonight. So we'll see.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, yeah, as far as from my perspective, I literally just started working with the Basketball Podcast Network. My first episode of Bridge to the Nets podcast will be out on Friday, March 4th. So tomorrow, for most of you, tomorrow will be out tomorrow. We'll be recapping the last couple games. Kevin Durant comes back into the lineup. They're currently down by almost double digits in the fourth to a depleted Heat team. So it might be a not so pleasant first episode. We'll see how I feel when I actually start recording. But we'll have new episodes of the podcast every single Friday, wherever you listen to podcasts. And you can follow us on social media. You can see us the handle here at Bridge to Nets. So that should be a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to interacting with guys like you, Patrick, and everybody at the network, and talking some hoops because obviously I do a lot of hockey, but I also love the game of basketball. I've been a Nets fan for very long time, back in the days of Jason Kidd, Vince Carter, Richard Jefferson, playing at the old Continental Airlines / Izod Arena in the Meadowlands when they were still in New Jersey. So I've been a Nets fan for quite some time. I consider myself a diehard. I know people say, "Oh, are you a front runner? How long have you really been a Nets fan?" Well, I've actually been a Nets fan longer than the Nets have really been. I guess you would say a team with championship aspirations. I was a season ticket holder for the Nets, I think in like 2008. And that was during the Lawrence Frank era, which I don't like to talk about because he was just not that guy. He was just really annoying the crap out of me. But
He's doing pretty well on the Clippers, man, as GM, right?
As a GM, not a coach. If he was the coach, the Clippers would be terrible. They would be absolutely terrible. I believe he was like the main reason that they were able to convince Kawhi Leonard and Paul George to come together. So I guess that kind of like that's like something big that he can go off of. It's like very strange. I don't know, but yeah, guys, I'm excited to start interacting with basketball. Certainly Nets fans. We're going to be doing some live watch-alongs of Nets games here on the channel as well. Don't you worry. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it as Isha's back in the chat. It's this great stream, guys. Thank you so much, Isha, my friend. Good to see you. Hopefully you enjoyed that live watch-along you and Dylan did of the Canucks Islanders game. I have no idea what happened in that one. But thank you so much for the support, guys. Really, really do appreciate it. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Isha helps out the channel tremendously. But Patrick, I wanted to ask you this because you mentioned several times that you've been a Warriors fan for a long time. What era of Warriors basketball is your all-time favorite? Because you got so many different options. My personal favorite is the Baron Davis era. That's like my personal favorite time because that was when the Warriors were, I'm not saying they're not fun now, but like that was when they were really, really, becoming exciting and you saw the playoff atmosphere. So that would be like my favorite. But what is your favorite, Patrick?
That's a tough call, man. Because do I go with my favorites from like my formative years when I was a kid, or do I go with like the obvious like dynasty eras?
Right.
I mean, I'll say early dynasty, man, because when they were underdogs, the thing about the Warriors is like their main guys, they're all drafted, they were never expected to be stars. And they just came together and they, with all the other role players. I mean, no one had heard of Klay Thompson. That dude was number 11 pick, still lottery, but not, no one was like, oh, this guy's going to be a stud. And then Steph, he had all his injury stuff, and everybody thought he's just going to be like a Hersey Hawkins type or something, or a Mahmoud Abdul Rauf type. So, and then Draymond was just a second round pick. So I think that you as a longtime Nets fan, because they had so many thin years, even though they were pretty good during some of those kid years, like, I have a love for like homegrown talent. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like kids that you draft who become so much more than you'd ever expected. And which is why, like, I look at a team like the Lakers, and I mean, LA is all about like star power. So like bringing in random people from everywhere,
of course,
makes, what drives their fan base. But, I see like the Warriors, and, like I would have to say this era, the early dynasty, or like the Run TMC era with Chris Mullin, who was drafted number 7, Tim Hardaway, who was drafted like, I don't know, like somewhere in the teens, and then Mitch Richmond, who, I mean, he was drafted in lottery, but still, like those guys were homegrown for a hot minute, and that only lasted a couple years until Don Nelson traded Mitch Richmond for Billy Owen. So that's a whole nother story. But yeah, the Baron Davis years were great. The We Believe team. It's just unfortunate that it was so short.
Did it feel like it was like a tease? Did you feel like that era, the We Believe era, did you feel like that was supposed to be the beginning of something really special, and then, it became more of a tease? Like what was the sense from Dub Nation, when that era, that very quick era, like came to an end?
I felt like that team, not so much a tease, but like you expected them to be like better. I always felt like they had a ceiling. It was never like, oh, this is a title team, but I was
Hmm.
like, this is a team that beat the Mavericks in that eighth spot that first year, and then the next season, the West was just so damn good. They
Right.
at the time, I don't know if it's different now. They were the winningest team to ever not make the playoffs. I think they had 48 wins that year, and
Hmm.
then after that, the Warriors' terrible ownership of Chris Cohan and Bobby Roll was like their president. They dismantled the team pretty much.
Yeah.
They dismantled it, and hey, we got Steph out of it eventually. A couple years
Hmm.
later, so it's all good. But that team was fun, man. That was a very very Oakland team. Very at the time.
What I feel like, and I don't want to say that like the team that they have now or during this like dynasty era, it doesn't, but I feel like that era, that we believe era for Golden State really embodied that whole area of Oakland and that type of, places like a blue collar type, you know,
Yeah,
feeling. I feel like that. And again, I'm not disrespecting the team that they have now, because I think what you mentioned before is so right, is that, when they were winning championships, there's only two guys that they really brought in from the outside that were like great players. And that was Andre Iguodala, who you could even argue could be somewhat technically homegrown, only because like he came in and then like flourished in his new role and things like that when he was there. And then obviously when they got Kevin Durant. Other than that, they were still dominating. Then they won. They had that crazy season. If we all remember 2016, 73 wins, and it was all homegrown guys. Well, mostly homegrown guys. Still Steph, still Clay, still Draymond.
yeah.
I mean, it was that impressive.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean they had Harrison Barnes too, who was number 7 pick for them in
I,
in
I keep
2012.
forgetting that Harrison Barnes is still in the league only because
He's on the Kings. That's
he's on
why.
the Kings. And by the way, the third quarter of our game has just gotten underway, as it's now 71-54, as it's just getting worse as this game progresses. So, but Patrick and I are having a great time just chatting as well. We might be a little bit more into the game if it was a little bit closer. No disrespect, Patrick, but we're having a good time doing
No,
this first ever live watch along here on the channel.
it's no disrespect to state the obvious. Um, you know, talking on like the Kevin Durant years, like I again, like the the early dynasty years were more special to me because of the homegrown talent. Like I love the Durant years, and I'm a Durant fan still. I never understand when Warriors fans hate on Kevin Durant. I find that so like myopic, so kind of like
Hmm.
dense,
Hmm.
but uh, just those years where they were these underdogs that kind of became this 73 win team.
Yeah,
Uh, I always said if they didn't lose to the Cavs, I would have loved to have seen Steph um, in the without Kevin Durant. Like
right.
because there were peak years where sure he was still playing like at an amazingly high level, but
Hmm.
he wasn't. He didn't have free reign as much as he did before. So
Right.
I love the Durant years, but the first title and those first couple years of the dynasty were far more important or like meaningful to me.
I think that makes a lot of sense, because again, it's one of the situations where you feel like it's more authentic, because again, you didn't quote unquote buy a championship. You drafted well, you developed well, and things like that. And I could be wrong about this, but I believe the Warriors were the first team in basketball history to not only win an NBA championship, but to win a G League championship in the same year. Because I believe their G League team won the
And
championship as well, with Seth, as well as Clay Thompson's brother, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, yeah. I didn't know anybody outside of the Warriors fan base knew that. Like,
That's something that a lot of basketball fans like. I remember I asked my brother that one time because we were watching a G League game, and I said, and I just remembered that, and I was like, I think the Warriors might be the only team in basketball history to win a championship with their NBA team and their G League team in the same year. I thought that was kind of like an interesting
yeah,
um, dynamic, as the Warriors starting to get themselves cooking a little bit more here in the start, only down by 10. So starting to hit
yeah,
some shots.
yeah. Like I said, third quarters, the Warriors traditionally are good, are solid, so they make their
Mhm.
runs. So we'll see if they can keep this one up. Um, yeah, let me ask you. I mean,
Go ahead.
this isn't a Nets game, but like,
I mean,
what's oh man, there's so many. The Nets have had like one of the more uh like one of the weirder seasons I've ever seen on record. Um, where do you think they end up in the playoffs?
I think that at best they finish as the seventh seed. I think that with the way the Celtics have been playing so well of late, they've really been clicking, winning a lot of games. There's several games in front of the Raptors for that sixth spot. I think the
Hmm.
sixth seed's going to be a little bit tougher to get to. You look at the Nets, and currently they're down 111 to 107 with 35 and a half seconds to go in the game. Um, it's kind of a difficult situation because we're just going to flat out never be fully healthy. I mean, we just got word Joe Harris is out for the year. He's getting his second surgery. He's done. Ben
What's
Simmons,
wrong with him again?
I'm sorry.
What's wrong with him? What's his injury?
Left ankle. He hurt his ankle like earlier in the year, and that was kind of like he never really could get back on the court, and that was kind of a frustrating thing. And then obviously you had Harden who kind of checked out and eventually, did the same thing he did in Houston where he just got himself out of a team, which is,
Yeah.
it is what it is. Kyrie Irving being Kyrie Irving. It's been a tough year, and with every loss that comes by, the more frustrating it gets because it just feels like a lost season, to be quite honest with you. It really does. Like, it
Yeah.
just doesn't feel like that. Yeah, this team could probably make the playoffs and probably will, but they're going to limp into the playoffs. I mean, we don't even know when Ben Simmons is going to actually play. I mean, he's not playing March 10th, which is really disappointing because I was really hoping that he would play that game against the 76ers. But
Yeah,
I
for sure.
just, and I don't like Steve Nash as a coach. I don't think he should have ever been hired. But again, that was Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving talking. That was not, you know, that was kind of the decision. I would have been fine with Ty Lue if he had come here. I really would not have had a problem with that. Or even if I remember they were trying to get Greg Popovich to come from San Antonio, which would have been unbelievable and crazy, but it would have been cool. But it's frustrating, and that this season just feels like it's slowly but surely falling more and more apart. And now watching the success that Harden's having with Embiid early on in their tenure in Philly, it just kind of frustrates the whole situation even more.
Yeah, yeah. I haven't followed the Nets close enough,
Yeah,
particularly Steve Nash. What makes him a bad coach besides the fact that he just not a good he just doesn't know how to coach?
he doesn't know how to coach. He doesn't know when to call timeouts. I don't feel like he understands the emotionality of the game and when his players really, really need a break and they need to figure it out. I don't get his lineups. By
Hmm.
the way, as we're talking, the Nets have just lost to a very depleted Heat team, 113 to 107 at home. So Kevin Durant's day return to the lineup does not result in a win, even though Durant ended up with 31 points, which was more than anybody else in except Bam Adebayo, who had 30. Bam was just tremendous tonight. But yeah, he doesn't know when to call timeouts. His lineup, his rotations are strange, and he's not really a leader either. Patrick, this team
Hmm.
needs a leader right now. We don't have a leader, and I hate saying that because Kyrie's not that. Kevin Durant, I think, can be, but I feel that sometimes I feel like he doesn't. I don't know. I really don't know. I just think that leadership is a big question mark on this team. And I really do feel like with the way this season has gone and where it's going right now, that I feel like this team is just trying to get through the rest of the season. Just like we're like, all right, let's get through all of this crap and let's just because this team has not been healthy since Kevin
Yeah.
Durant and Kyrie Irving came here. Since this era began, we've never been at full strength
Yeah.
where we can say, oh yeah, we're good. Like we got this guy, we got that guy. I mean, the greatest what if story in sports history is going to be the 17 games that Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden all played together and ended up getting knocked out in the second round of Game 7 um, by Kevin Durant's big foot. So it's just,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
sucks. And look, I love Kevin Durant. And I now, watching him on a night to night basis, it's ridiculous how automatic he is, especially from mid range. I call, because we have so many guys who shoot mid range, I call the Nets the monsters of the mid range, because we're just playing, because we're just so good at the mid range level. But watching Kevin Durant, he's tremendous. Watching Kyrie Irving when he's playing is phenomenal, except I think at times he's not clutch. James Harden was unbelievable. I did not realize how tremendous, how gifted James Harden was until I saw him play on a night to night basis. And it just sucks because at the end of the day, Patrick, and obviously you know what it's like because you've seen it several times. I just want the Nets to win a championship. I don't care about a dynasty. I just want to. I just want like one time the Nets are the best team in the NBA because we got 2 ABA championships in the 70s, but we don't have an NBA championship, and that is something that I've just wanted so badly because it's one of the few championships I haven't seen one of my favorite teams win. So it's just watching tonight, seeing them lose tonight is just adding on to the frustration of what has been a very difficult season.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. That all makes a ton of sense. When the
By the way,
Warriors
when
weren't.
Patrick slows down when he's talking, that means he was focusing very much on the game that's going on that we're doing here, which is now 80-70 Dallas with 6:08 to go here in the third quarter. They keep at least Golden State's keeping it relatively close, Patrick. They're keeping it relatively close. Now it's 8.
You got to get over the hump. You got to get
Right.
over the hump. Right? Yeah. But in terms, not to make this all about the Nets, but like,
You can.
I think, yeah, I mean, I'm a huge KD fan, and I wanted, if it's not the Warriors, I wanted to see the Nets win because I think KD deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like, yeah, man, I don't know. How do you feel about Ben Simmons?
First of all, City Life Project in the chat again saying, what's up, boys? Good to see you guys. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. We do appreciate it. Again, guys, if you're enjoying the stream, make sure to leave a like as well as subscribe. It helps out the channel tremendously. Let us know when you do subscribe as well so we can shout you out here on the stream. So to go back to your question, Patrick, about Ben Simmons, I've always liked Ben Simmons. Obviously, I know he doesn't really shoot the ball. He doesn't have a jumper, clearly. Doesn't have a three-point shot. We know that. But on this team, because that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are shooters and they want the ball as much as possible, Ben Simmons can be the facilitator that basically Harden was when he was here. And we're just, and that's okay. Yeah. And he still plays really good defense. I mean, he's a tremendous defender. And he brings a lot of different things that the Nets didn't have prior to acquiring him. But again, it's the same thing that I was saying before about we're just waiting around. And as a Nets fan, I'm just like, I'm tired of waiting. I'm tired of sitting around waiting for the possibilities. I want us to start playing. And we're lucky if Ben Simmons is going to play at least one game before the playoffs. I don't think the Nets will go as far as not making the playoffs because some of the teams below them in the East are just, quite frankly, not good.
Where are they now? What seed are they now?
They are currently, let me double check on that because I should know this off the top of my head, but I want to see how much changed tonight with this loss, which now makes it 3 in a row, which is really tough considering that they came off that big victory in Milwaukee, beating the Bucks when they didn't have anybody except Kyrie. And then they followed that up by losing back-to-back to Toronto and then losing to a depleted Heat team tonight. But in the East, they are currently in 8th place. They are a game and a half in front of Charlotte, who they actually play, I believe, in their next game. And they're also a game and a half in front of Atlanta. So, Atlanta, Charlotte, and maybe the Washington Wizards are the teams that you'd probably worry about from the Nets perspective because they're not that far off. The Knicks are the next closest, and they're like 6.5, and I don't see the Knicks doing anything. So between 7 and 10, that's where you could see that the Nets are could fall to about as bad as 10, or they could jump to as high as 7. And I mean, I think we just, from a Nets perspective, we have to face facts that we're probably going to have to play in the play-in game, which is really, really tough, which is really, really hard to imagine when you think about where we were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dude, I mean, it's you got to think about it this way, though, right? It's like if you guys are healthy, I mean, this is how I feel about the Warriors. Even if we're to fall, into fourth, say the Jazz pass them up or something, then I don't really care because I have full confidence as long as there's health. Like no one wants to face the Warriors in the playoffs at all. So if they're fourth, all they need to do is like win one game on the road after the first round, right? To like get home court advantage. So I mean, same thing for the Nets, right? Like they just need if they're healthy, no
If
one
they're
wants
healthy, which I mean, are we going to be healthy? I don't know. There's always the question mark of are we going to be healthy? It's a question that has yet to be answered at any point this season. And by the way, good friend of ours, Ethan, what's going on, Ethan? Thank you so much for coming on and leaving on a comment. We do appreciate Ethan. While you're here, man, leave a like on the stream as well as subscribe. Helps out the channel tremendously. And if you do subscribe, Ethan, let us know in the chat that you did so we could shout you out here on the stream. He asks us, who's your MVP so far? Patrick, why don't you answer that first?
I'll give it to Embiid. I'll give it to Embiid because he has a lot of momentum. He's playing great, and there is like this vibe that as he and Harden start coalescing even more, they're playing really well together. That by the end of the season, that's what voters are going to remember the most, regardless of how good Jokic plays, regardless of how good Giannis plays. I mean, it could always turn, but I think, especially since out of those guys, he hasn't won one yet. There's always like that in the back of your mind bias that like, oh, let's give it to Embiid. And so that's right now where I think it's probably going to go if all things kind of go in a straight line.
I'm actually going to throw someone of a curveball. My MVP favorite is DeMar DeRozan in Chicago. And I look at it because Chicago has certainly been one of the more surprises, certainly in the Eastern Conference. I mean, at one point they were the number one seed in the East, earlier on in the year. And DeMar DeRozan is actually averaging more points this year than he's ever had in his career. And you're talking about goes back to 2009, 2010. DeMar DeRozan's averaging nearly 30 points a game. He has been one of the main, if not the main catalyst for the Bulls, and has been a big reason why they've had so much success this season. And I feel like DeMar is finally showcasing himself as being like that dude. And I really, really like the way that he plays. But I wouldn't be surprised if it ended up being Embiid because of, who Embiid is and how well he's played this year. Even before Harden got there, he was playing at an MVP level. But I honestly think it should be DeMar DeRozan. He really has been killing it so far in Chicago. I really like what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, he totally deserves it too, man. There's a lot of guys who are playing really well, and he's like the one guy out of everybody else on that Bulls team, like their star players, that hasn't gotten hurt for a long stretch, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, he's going to drop him in the next game. But yeah, I mean, he definitely has a shot at it. But like, I just think, like, kind of you alluded to, once the hype train keeps going, like I think it's going to go Embiid's way eventually. Not that DeRozan doesn't deserve it. I just think the ink goes to Embiid a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even with DeRozan having like that recent streak of unbelievable games,
mm-hmm. And also Embiid's the sexier pick. I mean, you got exactly. He's more marketable right now than DeMar DeRozan. And that's always going to be something that will be topic of discussion when it comes to making votes for MVP.
But I am stunned. I mean, I'm a little stunned that like DeRozan had this in him at this point in his career. Like
I think he finally just decided that he was going to come out and just play as good as he can, get in the best shape of his career, and you're seeing it. And I think that it's different than when he was in Toronto, where I think he's like legitimately the man in Chicago, and the system that is in place is really good for how he plays the game, being a slasher, being a guy that takes it to the crib a lot of the time. And is it me, or is his mid-range shot better than what it was in the past?
I mean, he was always money from mid-range. I don't know what his percentages
are. It seems like it's better than in years past. Yeah. That's just the way that I've observed it.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, right? Because when he got traded in the Kawhi trade and the Raptors won, like I thought like, yeah, that's DeRozan. He's just gonna, kind of slowly but surely like fade off in his career into retirement eventually. But
Right.
this second or third act, whatever you want to call it, I'm really impressed. I mean, I had no idea he had this extra oomph in him, at this point.
Yeah, 100%. Andrew asking what happened so far. Well, again, the Warriors, who have been down by double digits for the good majority of this game, are still hanging in there. They're currently down 92-85. They're chipping away. They're chipping away. As Patrick put out before, the Warriors are usually a very, very good third quarter team, and you're seeing that here in this third quarter. They've been having a lot more success. Steph's hitting some more shots. Still a lot of foul calls in this game, which is like kind of strange. Some of them have been ticky tacky in my opinion, but again, that's just with every game that you watch. But that's kind of the way that I've looked at it in this one. But again, Golden State could still very well, if they can get a couple stops on the defensive side, which they've clearly struggled to do so in this game, they could certainly get back and potentially win this one.
Yeah, like I was saying, man, like it's just one of those games, it's just get over that hump, and they haven't been able to get there. They've made a couple runs, but then like the Mavericks just push them back, and that's, it gets a little monotonous for a team, and they start thinking they can't get there, and
Right.
it continues. So, we'll see. There's still a ton of time in this game, but like the momentum, the vibe, the energy, the body language of this Warriors team just doesn't seem like it has this urgency or like this immediacy to really start attacking. It seems like a lot of discouragement. I'm looking at these dudes right now, and they're just like, they're a little flatlining, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean it's been a tough game, and the biggest thing that again Patrick mentioned is they don't have the sense of urgency. You would think that they had just lost to this same Mavs team a few nights ago. They're on a 2-game losing streak. They want to shake it off, and even right from the opening tip, they just didn't come out with the type of energy that they needed. But again, they're only down by 12, which to some people might seem like a very, very big mountain to climb. But to me, I've always looked at the Warriors, certainly since 2014, 2015, no lead, no deficit is really out of range for them, especially if they're knocking down threes, which Steph, although is having himself a good game from a points perspective, shooting the three, he's been kind of struggling, and he's going to have games like that. And to me, that's the only way you slow down Steph Curry, is that he's just having an off shooting night.
Yeah. It's funny, on the broadcast I'm watching, they're showing like it's the Bay Area, the San Francisco broadcast, and like, they're showing Warriors fans in the stands, and whenever they show them, they don't look that excited. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like
they're just sitting there like,
the energy is contagious, and
yeah.
I'm not trying to be too down on the team, but it's like, you want them to fight. That's all you ever want, right?
Of course.
You just want them to keep at it. And again, like there's still a chance, but like you want to see them start making a move, start putting like a little bit, like get it under 5. I don't think it's gotten there yet. So
we got it to 7 right now. So I mean, they're almost right there. Oh, now it's 9. It's like they've gotten to at least 6 like a couple times, and like just as I'm about to be like, all right, they're right there, and they give up a 2-point shot. It's like just when you think they're going to get on a run, Dallas comes back and hits them with a dagger, and it's just like you could see how much it's deflating them. Like every time Dallas is knocking down a shot when they're starting to get some going, it's like, oh, we just got back in this one. Now we're down again.
Yeah. Where do you think Dallas, how far do you think they can get?
I think Dallas, to be very honest with you, I think they're good to potentially maybe pull off an upset in the first round. But I think like second round exit is the best, because I'm going to be honest with you, Patrick, their defense is still suspect to me. It's
Yeah.
just, and again, where is the major big man that's going to make a difference once you get in the playoffs? I know that obviously the NBA game is a lot about, shooting the mid-range 3-point shot. I get that. But you've seen it in years past, even with the Warriors. They had that, they had that big man. For the Warriors, it was like Draymond Green. I mean, it's, Draymond's a power forward, but still he's like that. He's that big dude. I just don't. I feel like that Dallas, although is a very good team, it could certainly give people a fight. I just don't think they have the extra oomph that's going to get them to making a long run in the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't see that either. Right now they're
Second
fifth.
round, I think, is a decent projection for them, though.
Yeah, they're in fifth spot right now. If they played the Jazz, I'll take the Jazz over them. Right now at this point.
That's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be a toss up, but still, I think, I just think they're like, it's probably obvious to say I think they're a couple players away. They just need that second dude. But they play well as a team. They have like this supporting cast that's surprisingly cohesive.
Mhm.
When I look at starting lineup, I'll be honest, I don't know if anyone major is injured. I know Tim Hardaway Jr. got hurt and he's out for the season, I think. But when I look at like Benny Smith, Reggie Bullock, Dwight Powell, Jalen Brunson, I like Jalen Brunson.
I got a kick out of this. How Curry gonna miss that is the greatest meme of all time. That is. It is very good, and I think it's funny. And I mean, Patrick, you could speak on this more, but just talking from like a regular, basketball fan, whenever I see Curry just miss a three, it's kind of like this stunning thing. Like, oh, he can miss. Like it's like you think like, oh yeah, it's just going in, and it just doesn't. I saw him one time shoot an air ball, and I'm like, I don't think that I've ever seen that before. That's definitely a scary, like, that's definitely like something I'd never see. But like, I'm sure you've probably seen it more than most.
Oh yeah. He
Even tonight,
misses.
tonight's a good example.
Yeah, I mean, it's been well documented like that his percentages are down. And he was in a slump in January and he kind of broke out of it, but he's still not where he usually is. So, like it used to be when he jacks up a three, you're like, that's going in. Right now, not that I don't right now, just because of how he's been playing, when he jacks up 30, you're like, is that going in? No, So obviously, like I expect him to kind of dial in as the playoffs get closer, especially once Draymond gets back and everything, and they can play their 2-man game a little bit. But right now, he's not exactly. I mean, last year he was playing MVP caliber, right? So he's definitely not there. I mean, beginning of the season, Steph was like hands down MVP leader, right? And now he's not even top 5, right? So like
he isn't top 5, which is really kind of it's kind of a crazy world that we live in right now.
Yeah. So, but bottom line is, like you said at the very beginning, is like how you finish, so and that's what we're looking for. It'd be different if like all these guys were out, and as you know, dealing with like a lot of injuries on your team is like it's different. Guys are out and they're not coming back, but if you know they're coming back, then you're like, all right, let's weather this storm. Let's watch a couple pedestrian outputs, and then see what happens when it really matters.
Absolutely. Well, we are at the end of the third quarter here. The Golden State Warriors still hanging on here as they are currently down 99-91. So we'll see if Steph and the boys at Dub Nation can can get some going here, get some defensive stops, and try to see if they can come back and win this one. But we will step aside for just a moment to get another word from our sponsors at DraftKings Sportsbook. So So again, a big shout out to our sponsors at DraftKings Sportsbook for sponsoring this live watch along and everything we do here at not the hockey, sorry. Got to get out of that habit because I've been doing so many hockey live watch along here at the Basketball Podcast Network. When you sign up for DraftKings, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure to use our promo code, which you can see in the bottom right corner here, TBPN. So we are just getting underway here in the fourth quarter of our game between the Dallas Mavericks and Golden State Warriors. Warriors starting the quarter down by 8 points. And we got some more comments. Here is my good buddy Andrew saying, I miss Green. Talk about Draymond Green so much. Where is Clay tonight? Clay's had, I mean, Patrick, why don't you explain it better?
Yeah, so he was out for a week. He's back in the starting lineup tonight, but it's obvious he's a little rusty. Maybe his conditioning isn't 100%, but he's only shooting 5 for 13, 2 for 7 from 3, and 14 points. But I'll give him a pass on his first night back.
Yeah, we got to give him some time to get back. My good friend Matty D is in the chat saying, Neil and friend, what's up? What is going on, Matty D? Great to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Matty, while you're here, my friend, make sure to leave a like on the stream as well as subscribe and let us know that you did that in the chat so we could shout you out. Helps out the channel tremendously, but good to see you, man. Andrew says he's loving it. All right, that's awesome. Well, we appreciate all you guys hanging out with us here on this first ever live watch along on the Basketball Podcast Network. Just like you see on the Hockey Podcast Network, our sister network, we're going to be doing live watch-alongs of NBA games, every team in the National Basketball Association. So we're going to be doing more Warriors games, more Mavericks games, some more Nets games. Obviously, got to represent my team here. We're going to be doing a lot. So make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. And also make sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new live watch-alongs that we do right here on the Basketball Podcast Network. Another good friend of mine, Dylan Kaiser, is in the chat. Is this the same Neil that's the star of the THPN channel? Oh my God, Dylan. But great to see you, buddy. Thank you so much for the comment, man. We appreciate it. Like and subscribe, boss man. You already know the drill, but thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. We appreciate it. Yes, the DraftKings. Use our promo code when you sign up for DraftKings, TBPN. Patrick, would it be, are there any good bets that people can make using DraftKings going into this fourth quarter that could get them a little bit of dough?
I don't know. I don't know. That's do you want to make a bet that the Warriors will get with 5? I have no idea.
It's definitely an interesting bet because the closest they've gotten in the last quarter and a half has been 6, but every time they get 6 or 7, all of a sudden the Mavericks come back and hit them with another shot. So it's kind of it's been really up and down, and it's been up and down here even just early on in this fourth quarter with several turnovers, including one by Steph Curry, which is obviously not great. Steph Curry's actually had, I think, several turnovers in it. He just does not look like the Steph Curry we see on a regular basis. He looks off like the rest of the team has been since this game started.
Yeah, the one flaw in his game throughout the years has always been turnovers. He throws a lot of risky passes, a lot of one-handed passes, a lot of behind the back passes. And the fact that the Warriors play in such a pass-heavy offense, obviously they get the balls moving a lot more, so you might throw an errant pass, but that's always been one thing that's bugged me. But they've had a couple chances to narrow this lead, and they just haven't they've bricked everything. So we'll see. I keep telling you, you got to see, this is the time to make a run. And all right, now it's down to 6. So we'll see if they can get it to.
So let's see. We're going to have a big celebration here on the channel if they end up getting it under 6. Because they clearly struggled to just get to that point. So as the looks like the Warriors called the timeout about 2 minutes into the fourth quarter. As again, they got to start just hitting some shots. And I know that the Warriors are obviously accustomed to shooting the 3 and shooting it a lot. But I feel like, honestly, Patrick, in this game, you got to start finding ways to get some 2-point shots. I think you got to try to start getting it down low a little bit and try to be a little bit more physical, because I think that the Warriors have just allowed Dallas to kind of push them around a little bit, which I think needs to definitely be something that needs to change if the Warriors want to get themselves back in this one.
Yeah, I mean, tired refrain. I keep saying it, but like Draymond obviously is the toughness of this team, and they can get a little pushed around, especially since they don't have any big dudes. Like Kevon Looney is their starting center. He's 6'9", and he's great,
Mhm.
and all, but they're missing their 1 7-footer, and Kevon Looney is their tallest dude right now. And Bielitsa, uh, that dude is 6'9", but he's tough, but he's not very strong. He's kind of a sloping,
Yeah.
not very like toned dude. So that toughness is something that really they're missing with Draymond just like shouting and chirping all the time. I mean, Draymond Green is one of those dudes that you love him on your team. I can imagine if he's on
Oh
the other
yeah.
team, which I would hate him. You know what I mean? So I think that's obviously a missing key cog. But if they can, Draymond's on the bench. He traveled to Dallas. He's practicing with the team. So if he's getting in somebody's ear, hopefully he can get these guys motivated to just make a run. Just like any
Mhm.
other, if you make a run, then it puts that kind of like doubt in their minds and everything, and that gives the Warriors a chance to get within 5 at least.
And that seems to be the biggest struggle tonight, to just get it within 5. And you look at from a Dallas perspective, they've been winning this game, yes, but again, they've just allowed Golden State to hang around, because at one point Dallas was up by 16 points, and it
Yeah.
looked like, especially early on in the second half, that the Mavs were just going to continue to just dominate, dominate, dominate. But you saw the Warriors slowly but surely start to chip away at it, and now we're into a close game here. But again, from the Warriors' perspective, they get close, but then they just give up a bucket or two the other way. Like their defense makes a stop here or there. Mavericks maybe take a bad shot and they get the rebound. It's almost like they're close, but like no cigar type of night. That's what it feels like to me watching this game.
Yeah, yeah, it definitely has that vibe, and like as dudes just watching, like obviously this can just turn. It it just takes a couple threes, and all of a sudden you're tied right there. So, I haven't given up on this game. Like I'm kind of going off of what I've seen from the last week, from trends that I've seen this whole season since the calendar turned and since Draymond's been out. So, uh, I think I 100% believe in this team, but I just think that
Mhm.
they're missing that like just like that chutzpah, you know what I'm saying?
You talk about that oomph, that little bit of juju, that the type of thing, just trying to get themselves going here. And I mean, you're gonna have nights like this. Every NBA team's gonna have nights like this where maybe they're able to keep it close, maybe they're able to just continue to be in the game, but they don't have enough to kind of just jump into that next part of like, okay, get it under 5, get it under, tie the game, take the lead, this, that, and the other thing. It's it's definitely like one of those games where if the Warriors end up losing, we'll look at it and say they just didn't have that little bit extra that's going to get them to win this game. And that's kind of what we're seeing so far, especially here in this fourth quarter, because it's kind of crazy how like we're this far into the fourth and neither team still has yet to hit 100 points. And I feel like it's just been an off shooting night for both sides.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the obviously the Mavericks started hot, but like credit to the Warriors for like sticking with it and playing a little bit better. I mean, obviously the cliche like NBA games it's a game of runs, so that's all you're wanting to see as from the Warriors is just to make that one run that like really really puts them in like in a good spot and puts a little doubt. I mean, the Mavericks did that to the Warriors a couple nights ago,
Mm.
and a couple games ago, and
And that
um,
was a backbreaker right there.
so
See, that's my point. See, again, look, that's my point. Like it was 6, and now it's back. Now it's back to 9.
yeah, 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 and that's what Luca and the Mavericks should be doing. They're like we know the psychology of this game a little bit, and as long as it keeps that cushion, then the Warriors are always going to be grasping at straws a little bit, and Kuminga hits a three. You kidding
What are
me?
the what are the odds of that? Honestly, like what are the odds of that?
Oh, he's solid, man. He's solid. Like I've done like so many episodes where I've focused so much on this kid. That guy
You're gonna
is.
when you afford enough, when you get enough money to get a jersey, is that the guy you're gonna get?
I don't know, man. I look terrible in jerseys, man.
Oh, it's all
Uh,
good, man. I did when I wear my Kevin Durant jersey, I look at myself and I'm like, you ain't no Kevin Durant. Like you really are the definition of white man can't jump. Like it's so bad. I mean, it's so bad, but
yeah,
it makes us all feel like that. You know, we look. You know what it would feel like to look like in an NBA jersey. Andrew said, the new DraftKings here is so good. That's why I love it. Well, thank you so much, man. Yeah, I believe our good buddy Dylan is actually responsible for a lot of the commercials and stuff and the ads here. So shout out to him. He does a really good job, not only for the hockey podcast network side of things, but also the basketball as well. Does a really, really good job. So we appreciate him. And we appreciate DraftKings for sponsoring this live watch along and everything we do here at the Hockey Podcast Network. Again, when you sign up for DraftKings and use DraftKings, use our promo code THPN and tell them the Basketball Podcast Network sent you. So 7:10 to go here in the fourth quarter. Mavs continuing to hold on to a lead as best as possible. The Warriors just trying to they're one run away, Patrick. They're
yeah,
like one run away from like getting in this lead. And I feel like if they get a lead, they're gonna get into a lead for good. Like that's the way I feel like this game is going, especially here in the fourth quarter.
yeah. I mean, that's exactly what the Mavericks did. I said once the Mavericks got that lead and Luka was in the game in the last game, they weren't giving that up. But right now, I mean, they're getting every chance, man. They're getting every chance. But
It's one of those games where like the Mavericks are like, please beat us. Like we're not having a good game tonight. Please
yeah.
beat us. And the Warriors are like, nah, we're good.
Hey, let me ask you. Just
Now, see, dude, they finally got it back down. They finally got under 5 as it's now 104 to 101 after that last 3-point shot. That was a
okay,
big one there.
Moody, another lottery pick for them coming through.
That was impressive. But you were going to ask me a question.
Yeah, who do you think will win the title?
Oh,
Totally generic.
I was going to say this
based
at
on
Christmas time when we were at Christmas. I said
Yeah.
Golden State because at that time they were playing so well.
Yeah,
I was thinking like, oh, this is but I'm actually going to honestly go with the Phoenix Suns. I think this is that year. The way that they're playing, confidence, and you know what? They have been super lucky that injuries haven't really derailed them that much.
right.
The question is obviously how much longer is Chris Paul's injury going to like affect the Phoenix right now? Is Jesus Christ. So
All right.
as we were just talking about, the Warriors need to get on a run. They just tied the game after they were down by 9 just a few moments ago, and game tied now at 104. Is this went from being what looked like was going to be a blowout to actually a really good game between two very talented Western Conference teams.
Yeah, like now we're gonna have to actually talk about the game from here.
We got to talk about Moses Moody back to back shots there. I have no idea I'll be honest with you. I have no idea who Moses Moody is, but that is a name.
Yeah, Moses Moody.
Do you call him Eminem? Do you call him Eminem?
No, not that I'm not aware.
That you're aware of.
But that was Did you see the draft when he got picked? Kendrick Perkins, he fumbled. There's like this viral moment where he kept messing up his name like 15 times in a row.
How do you mess up a name that doesn't even look that hard to say? It just says Moses Moody.
Yeah, he was like Moosey Modi Moosey. You know, he was like he couldn't say it. So, but no, that dude is good. And I like that pick a lot. I mean, the Warriors have an opportunity to really kind of. I like the fact that they kept their picks. I like the fact that they've drafted these two dudes. I didn't want them to trade their future for, I don't know, at the time, what, Bradley Beal, Ben Simmons, Damian Lillard over the summer. And I think that keeping these dudes is very smart, and has turned out to be a very smart idea. I think it's paying off. But getting back real quick, since it's a commercial break right now, like the Suns, the Suns look good. They're not an all-time team right now, but I think that their pieces fit so damn well. everybody's
Monty
role is.
Williams is a hell of a coach.
Yeah, he's a
He's
great
a
coach.
hell of a coach.
I like Monty Williams a lot, and just I like what their starting lineup like. It's a great starting lineup. You know, it's very solid. Everybody does what they're supposed to do, and Chris Paul is. I'll give Chris Paul credit, man. When he got traded to Oklahoma City, I was like, this dude is done. He's never getting another chance.
And I felt like his reaction too was like, why am I here? Like, why am I here?
But he dragged that OKC team to the playoffs, you know, in the bubble.
And beat Harden in the actually no, it was what how many games that series did it go 7?
I don't recall.
What I remember is that Harden finally played defense and he got like the block shot. And I think in the final, if you remember, like I forgot who took the shot, but he was able to get his hand up and make the play.
Yeah.
But Andrew saying, Neil, you were just answering my comment with CP3. Yeah, CP3 honestly has been really impressive. I feel like he's finally in a place where he's playing with a very young team that respects Chris Paul, even at this point in his career. They see to him as a leader, and I think that that's kind of like what you're seeing with this. And Monty Williams is just been a guy that he makes this team believe as the freaking Mavericks go right back up.
Come on.
Well, but you got to give credit. That was a good time for the Mavericks to call a timeout.
Yeah,
and then they come right out the timeout and they score. Like that's what that's how they're supposed. That's what you're supposed to do in that type of situation.
Yeah. Who do you like coming out of the East?
Out of the East?
Yeah.
Doesn't it? I don't know if you would agree, but it feels like it's changing every other week with like who we think is really. I would like. Do I even feel that confident in Milwaukee? I would put money on Milwaukee because number one, obviously defending champs. Number two, they do have several injuries, yes, but they are still very well balanced. And they brought in Serge Ibaka, which I thought was a tremendous move by them. And I don't know, it's tough. Could it be possible we see Suns versus Bucks again? It's possible. I could say Philadelphia, but it's not about do I think James Harden and Embiid could play well together. No, because clearly it's been off. It's obvious that they do. It's that do they have a deep enough team? And they did give up Seth Curry and Ben Simmons and also Andre Drummond, who was playing well on that 1-year deal that he signed with Philly in the offseason. So I mean, it's tough. You could go with Miami if they're fully healthy. It's strange. It's really. I guess I'd go with Milwaukee right now. Right now, I'd say Milwaukee.
Yeah, I mean, it really is like kind of a toss up, right? Because like everyone's has a lot of pluses, and that's what I like about this season too. It's like there are some really good teams, but there's no like singular dominant team. And even the Suns with the best record.
Freaking Moody again. I'm about to learn this dude's name. I'm about to know who he is now with the way he's been playing in the fourth.
Yeah. There's no singular dominant team. Even if Phoenix is like the best team in the league, you don't see them as unbeatable, right?
No.
So that's what I appreciate. There's relative parity at the top. There's at least three very solid teams in each conference, which could on any given day have a shot.
Oh yeah. And I think honestly also like I felt like that way a little bit last year, even when the Nets still had Kyrie, KD, and James Harden. I felt like there's more possibilities here for different intriguing matchups. So when we got Bucks versus Suns, it was like, no, this is actually kind of an interesting matchup that I don't think anybody would have expected at the beginning of the year. And I think it was just kind of cool. But you could see that the Suns were building something when they went 8-0 in the bubble and didn't make the playoffs. I mean, they went undefeated and they still couldn't get in. But you could see that they were building something slowly but surely. And then, you get Chris Paul, you're able to, and you're finally seeing DeAndre Ayton become that number one overall player that we all thought he was going to be when he first got drafted. And he's a traditional big man that is flourishing in the NBA. And you could see the connection he has with Chris Paul. He's really helping him.
Yeah, he's impressed me because like I thought he was kind of a stiff, but he's a little bit more fluid than I thought he would be. I mean, he's definitely not like a outside guy, but he's he's starting to hit. I mean, he showed he could hit a three, which
Mhm.
impressed me. So, I think that's not like the worst pick in the world. It's not like the
No.
Marvin Bagley pick.
No, I mean, like it was definitely like there was a lot of questions going into that draft. It's like who should be number one. I think if you do a redraft, I think most people would put Luka as number one, maybe Trey Young as two, and then Aiton. But I think Aiton's honestly worked out at the end here as now you can see Dallas is starting to get its
Mm.
groove back again.
Oh, come on. It was fun while it lasted. What the hell?
Yeah, right. It's like they were making the run, and then Andrew Wiggins made a bad pass.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
Patrick is slowly dying as we approach the end of this one, my
it,
friends.
it,
The
yeah.
Bulls isn't going to the playoffs. They're not. I don't. Andrew, I think they're definitely making the playoffs.
Definitely the
Maybe as
playoff.
far as like, maybe not winning a championship, I could agree with. But as far as making the playoffs, they're definitely going to make the playoffs, and they could be a sneaky team out of the East if they're at full strength. If they get Alex Caruso back, honestly, with the way that they've been playing, they could definitely be a really really shocking team in the playoffs.
Are both Caruso and Ball scheduled to come back before the end of the season, or at least
That's
in
the
the?
thing that it's kind of like it's not that they're keeping it hush hush. I think even like the trainers don't even know exactly what the situation is. That's kind of like
Yeah,
the position that we're in. So it's kind of like a wait and see approach. So it's kind of up in the
yeah,
air. There's been so many good players that have been injured long term this year. Bradley
yeah,
Beal, Dame Lillard. It's Kyrie, KD was out for a period of time. It's been ridiculous, and I'm trying to figure out what exactly the reason behind it is at this point as to why it's this difficult for guys to be staying healthy consistently.
I mean, it's tough to say. It may just seem like it as opposed to actually being more than usual. I'd have to look at like, breakdowns and stats. It just so happens that there's a lot of, I mean, there's always big name players that are out. It just feels like, uh, 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 I really don't know if people are just like out for longer, if people stay out longer because they want to be more cautious,
Mm-hmm.
uh, or whatever. I think, um, I mean, as you know, it's like it's such a long season that the real priority for any team is health, and you saw that last season, right? Like with at the beginning of last season, Budenholzer was on the hot seat, right? And then all of a sudden
Right.
they won the title because a couple advantages here and there. The
They were the
KD,
most healthy team like throughout the season and in the playoffs.
yeah, if KD doesn't have such a massive long foot, then they're not going anywhere. But then all of a sudden they win
That's
the
true.
title, and it's like, hey, let's sign this guy to an extension or whatever. I don't know if they did,
Right.
but right, it's like it's all good. So it really just hinges on that, and it's funny to play like a whole 82 games, and then all of a sudden have it just come down to like which team is the healthiest.
Right. And I think that that's what you're seeing at the end of the day. It's always about who comes, when you look at the team that comes out on top, the first thing you look at is like, well, a lot of their guys actually have been able to stay relatively healthy. As my wonderful mother say, has everybody subscribed? I sure hope everybody's been subscribing, man. Again, you gotta let us know when you subscribe so we could shout you out here on the pod on the stream, man. We really appreciate it. But we appreciate everybody liking, subscribing, hanging out with us on the first ever live watch along on the basketball podcast. That we're going to be doing a lot more of these in the future, so don't worry. We're going to be doing a lot more games. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're very excited to do so. City Life Project, hell yeah, we subscribe. Thank you so much, City Life Project. We appreciate it, guys, for subscribing 100%. It's early days. It's gonna be a slow start, but I promise you guys, this is gonna keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we're gonna have a huge community here moving forward. I can guarantee you that 100%. As now it's 120 to 113 here with less than a minute to go. It kind of seems like time has somewhat run out on Golden State, even though they were able to tie the game at one point. Dallas has regained a decent
Yeah.
amount of momentum here.
Hey, they showed some fight. I guess. And it it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Can't get too high, can't get too low, but we'll at least the Grizzlies lost.
Hey, can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong with that. Andrew saying, who's the next guest will be on? Andrew, if you punch notification bell here on the channel, you will get notified when new videos come up, when new live watch alongs come up here on the channel, and you'll get to find out that way who will be doing live watch alongs. It won't just be myself. It won't just be Patrick either. We'll have other people within the network that are going to be coming on doing games of their teams that they cover, and it's going to be a lot of fun, Andrew. So stay tuned for that. This is the first of many. Like you saw how the Hockey Podcast Network built, it's the same way it's going to be here at the Basketball Podcast Network. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to be covering a lot of games, especially, Patrick, once we get in the playoffs.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a lot of fun, man. That's gonna be intense, and especially if you start getting people like from their team's podcast that show up every game.
Oh yeah.
People
We do like 6 live watch alongs a day where we're just every single team for every game and just boom, boom, boom. We'll just keep ourselves fully on live mode for 24 hours.
My goodness.
Man. But, the Warriors did call a timeout, 24 and a half seconds. I mean, this one's pretty much all but in the books. Mavericks came out hot. Warriors slowly but surely through the second, and even especially in the third quarter, and even early on in the third quarter, in the fourth quarter, they were able to slowly but surely chip away. They were able to tie the game, but then the Mavs, right off a timeout, that timeout was very, very key. With about 2 minutes to go, they called that timeout, and then the Mavs just started knocking down shots again, and the Warriors just did not have an answer. And that's really been the difference, in this game, and certainly in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. They made their run, but that's what having Luka and a coach that used to be that is a Hall of Fame point guard, settles everybody down and then knows how to close out a game. So that's exactly what's happening here.
Yeah, so it's a tough one for the Golden State Warriors, who are going to drop to 43-20 on the year, while the Dallas Mavericks, with this win, as this game has just concluded, move to 38-25. So that makes it now a surprising 3 consecutive losses for the Golden State Warriors, as 2 of those 3 come at the hands of Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks. So, Patrick, to kind of recap for people, give us your whole thought. I mean, obviously we've been talking about it throughout the quarter, throughout the game, but just kind of give us overall, what your whole thoughts of this game and what situation the Warriors are in right now.
The Warriors, I think, I've said this before, and if you're a Warriors fan, this, that the Warriors are going to live and die with Steph, Clay, and Draymond, and without Draymond, without their heart and soul, they've lasted this long, since January, without him, and you can tell that they desperately need him. And so once he gets back, that's where things will start to turn a little bit. But he needs to get back so that this team, right now, they're just not playing with enough energy, with enough intensity, and you're seeing that their supporting cast is a supporting cast, right? So this whole thing about Wiggins being able to be that second guy, he's more of a third or fourth guy. And I think ultimately the Warriors will be fine, but it's just getting to that point. Right now it's tough to watch because they're not clicking the way that you're used to seeing them click, but there's no need for hand wringing. There's concern with most teams, but you take each game one game at a time. And for this one, unfortunately, it's a third loss in a row. But I think you have to just see how they start to finish once, not just Draymond, but once Clay gets his win back, once James Wiseman, even though there's a lot of question marks about him, that dude, I mean, you throw him, all they need from him is 8 to 15 minutes in any matchup to give you those 6 fouls and that 7-foot lob threat and defensive presence. And then also Andre Iguodala. He may be old, but that dude can still manage a team pretty well. So once you get those pieces and you kind of get them flowing, hopefully they'll start looking like the team that we're expecting. Because it's all about the 16 games that you got to win in the playoffs, and that's what you got to focus on after a game like this. You know what I mean? It's not about diluting yourself. It's about just looking, taking a step back and not like freaking out and going on Twitter and demanding everybody get fired.
That's a very good way to put it, Patrick. 100%. Sodapod saying, not a huge NBA fan. Timberwolves is my hometown team. Fair enough. Can you blame me? No, Hoppy, I can't blame you. You are from the Minnesota area, so you got to support the local team. But love what you guys are doing. Thank you so much, Sodapod, for the love, man. We appreciate it 100%. Andrew says, I'm heading out now. No worries, Andrew. Thank you, man, for hanging out with us tonight. We do appreciate it. So, ladies and gentlemen, on that note, that'll wrap it up here for this first ever live watch along here on the Basketball Podcast Network. Patrick, first and foremost, how are you feeling after doing your first live watch along? And also, as we do here, let the folks at home know where they can find you on social media as well as the podcast and anything else you got going on right now. So, my friend, the floor is yours.
Yeah, you can find the Oakland Warriors podcast on all major podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify. Just started a YouTube channel. Go find it and subscribe to it. It's Oakland Warriors. And you can find me on Twitter, this Warriors podcast, at Oakland Warriors. I tend not to get into Twitter battles with people, so but you can still find me there. And yeah, subscribe, check it out. And if anybody out there ever wants to, talk basketball, if my team is playing your team, would love to hash it out. Those are always fun to do. So, give a shout. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. It's been a ton of fun. I love these kinds of things. I can't wait to do it again. Neil, your energy is endless, man. So appreciate that.
Well, thank you so much, man, for saying that. And yeah, this was a lot of fun to be doing this tonight. This was definitely, a different experience for me as well than what I'm accustomed to doing. But this was great. Had a lot of fun. City Light Project thing. Cheers, Neil and Patrick. Thanks, guys. No worries. Thank you so much for the support. Andrew giving some heart emojis to Patrick. So there you go. Andrew is definitely a fan of Patrick's. But just wait until the playoffs and the chat is buzzing, boys. Oh yeah. It's gonna be crazy once we start doing playoff games. And we're not that far away, guys. We are not that far away from the NBA playoffs. But as far as for me, ladies and gentlemen, you can find the Bridge to the Nets podcast wherever you listen to podcast episodes. My first episode of Bridge to the Nets podcast will be up tomorrow, March 4th. Wherever you listen to podcasts, so make sure you guys go check that out. Follow us on Twitter at Bridge to Nets, as you can see right here, Bridge to Nets on Twitter, as well as Bridge to Nets on Instagram. New episodes every Friday. You can follow me on my personal Twitter at THENVPSHOW and my personal Instagram at NVPQB11. Also, make sure to follow the Basketball Podcast Network on all social media platforms, as well as go check out all the podcasts here on the Basketball Podcast Network. We cover every single team in the National Basketball Association, and we're going to be doing a lot more of these live watch-alongs moving forward. I'm excited. Patrick's excited. We can't wait to do more of these. So once again, for Patrick Ipino of the Oakland Warriors podcast, my name is Neil Villapiano. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us tonight for the first ever live watch-along here on the Basketball Podcast Network YouTube channel. We will see you in the next live watch along. Once again, the final score from our game tonight, the Dallas Mavericks come away with a victory, beating the Golden State Warriors by the score of 122 to 113. So again, thank you all so much. We appreciate you 100%. And as we always say at the end of every video, rock on.